The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
The summer of 2004 at 20.
Well, welcome to the Brandon Peters Show and the final piece, but not the last episode of the summer of 2004 at 20. A weekend by weekend look at the films of that summer and the pop culture surrounding them. As always with me from Puck News and the Outside Scoop, which this week is Anacondas, the Scoop of the Blood Orange, a waffle cone featuring their brand new blood orange flavor. Scott Mendelson.
We might have saved the best for last.
I also note here that you said that the chocolate-flavored Push Pops are on sale this week.
That is correct.
All right.
But by the time you listen to this, they'll all be gone.
All be gone. And from Out Now with Aaron and Aben, We Live Entertainment. People claim him to be a genius and a hero, but Scott is suspect about that. Aaron Neuwirth.
He's just a fucking baby.
We've made it. And I lost a beard within the time.
I know. You grew it, you trimmed it, you messed with it, and then it's gone. He's cleaned of all this 2004-ness.
Exactly. That was my real devotion.
Yeah, we end this with a big 5-film banger. Going out. Yeah, with 5. I think we only did like 4, and then like 82 had like 3. That we had there. And that was a tough week if I remember, Scott. The final week of 8. Like I think we at least all liked Fortress last year. Decent enough in the final week. The Christopher Lambert.
Yes,
Fair.
that was surprisingly decent.
That was,
Fortress. The what was his name directed that? Stuart
Gordon.
Yeah. So
I do like this mix of films because we have some films that say authoritarianism scary and bad, but other films argue, what if authoritarianism is good actually?
oh man. These are more deep themes as we go in. So no, this episode is not going to blow, unlike our first film, The Brown Bunny. Playing in 3 theaters this week. Directed by Vincent Gallo, written by Vincent Gallo, starring Vincent Gallo and Vincent Gallo, Chloe Savini, Cheryl Tiegs, Elizabeth Blake, and Anna Vershi. Professional motorcycle racer Bud Clay heads from New Hampshire to California to race again. Along the way, he meets various needy women who provide him with the cure to his own loneliness.
Needy women, the kind I like to meet. Needy women walking down this. Okay.
So
But
Gallo's
only-
character wrote this plot description?
Yeah, but only a certain woman from his past will truly satisfy him on film. This movie, like, I didn't hear about this one until I moved to Los Angeles, which was the following summer. And it's all like people talk about it, like Brown Bunny. I'm like, what is this Brown Bunny? And like the buzz for the movie was Chloe Savini blows Vincent Gallo on film. Like they show it. Like big deal. Ooh, what? Like that was literally the thing. And then I was looking up poster art and stuff for the episode artwork, and that was literally the sales pitch on the poster. I was like, oh snap, that wasn't just us being dickheads about it. It was literally like kind of the sales pitch. That was a big guess you call it controversy was that a known actor did this on film, and her name wasn't Tracy Lords. Like, that's Chloe Sevigny. You know, the girl who gets kind of raped at the end of Kids and gets AIDS. Her, she's back.
Wholesome teen queen, Disney princess,
Yes,
Chloe Sevigny.
Chloe Sevigny, known for just the most wholesome family material that just would stun the world, starring in a film by Vincent Gallo, a lot of people. But Aaron, I believe this was your first time watching the movie.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's tell us about your Brown Bunny experience.
Well, I knew the film more as a the thing that like that Gallo and Ebert sparred over.
Mhm.
Far
Oh yeah,
as-
there was that. If you want to tell
Mhm.
people about that a little bit, please.
Roger Ebert was he was he wasn't a judge at Cannes. He was just at Cannes, I believe.
Correct.
And he had seen Brown Bunny and he found it to be something on the lines of like the worst film he'd ever had to review at the Cannes Film Festival. Made that very clear. And then Vincent Gallo retaliated by basically cursing his liver or something along those lines. The fact that Roger Ebert would, later get throat cancer. I'm not going to say the two, matter to each other, but I mean, Gallo didn't take this kindly, nor does he take many things kindly.
Didn't he recut the film after Cannes too?
I'm getting there.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Don't
Getting
spoil the
there.
third
If
act
you want me
twist.
to tell you, I can tell you. Jeez, you want to jump in?
You won't believe how this story ends.
But Gallo, yes, Gallo is an interesting figure to be, regardless. He has a lot of things to say at a lot of people and what have you. But yeah, Ebert hated the movie. Gallo hated him for hating the movie. But then, yeah, a year later, Gallo presents a re-edited version because often at the Cannes Film Festival, you have films that are not always ready for release exactly. Sometimes they're in a work print stage. I believe like Tarantino's done that a few times. I know Southland Tales is famously a certain cut that didn't have everything finished before it was released, which doomed that movie because of it. And by the time the Brown Bunny came out in its theatrical form, Ebert gave it a reevaluation and gave it a 3-star review. I mean, he liked what was there. And having now seen it for the first time myself, I would agree. I think the film, like, I think Buffalo 66, Gallo's debut film, is much better. I think that's a very strong feature that, as much as you might be annoyed by Gallo's screen presence, I think he's very good in that movie, along with Christina Ricci. And I think, I mean, I don't have a whole encyclopedia of knowledge on Gallo, but he's really good in Tetro also, Francis Ford Coppola's movie. Here, it very much reminded me of something like Somewhere from Sofia Coppola, where it's a lot of mood and a lot of stationary action we're seeing take place that builds to certain events, but nothing that's devastatingly heavy until you get to its basically third act climax, where more stuff occurs and gives a bit more of a context to what's taking place or what have you. And in that way, there's something that I appreciated about the kind of minimalist filmmaking on display and what Gallo's doing as an actor and what he's doing with his fellow cast members. I do think the extreme turn it takes that then gets kind of weirdly undercut by further reveals of what's taking place is like, okay, you're really putting me as a viewer through a lot in the final 20 minutes of this movie. But ultimately, I mean, I don't think it's like an amazing film, but as something that's uniquely presented from a distinct filmmaker, there's something here that I appreciated well enough, even if I didn't, even if I'm not looking to like put Brown Bunny on in the future for another spin anytime soon, I still found something to be there more so than just its what its reputation has going on it.
Okay, Scott.
Yeah, I was aware of all the, melodrama about this film when it came out, but I hadn't seen it till a few years after that. And it's a decent 3-star slow cinema, if that's a genre unto itself, indie film where, there's a part of me that sort of has to like disassociate myself from all the, $0 direct-to-video Lionsgate movies I had to QC back in the day, where it's like they spend the whole movie driving and not talking because they don't have money to do anything else. And that's not this. I mean, they had a $10 million budget, which for something like this is insane. As far as the infamous blowjob or the fellatio scene, I mean, it's not supposed to be erotic, obviously. It's not supposed to be particularly enjoyable. And once we, the twist behind the twist behind the twist, it's obviously, as Aaron said, it's very undercut. That being said, as far as what this movie's doing, I mean, as soon as I realized that the woman that he's, yearns for is named Daisy, like, oh, okay, so this is the Great Gatsby. So he's going to meet her. It's going to turn out to be nothing like the image that he's pictured in his head. She's a flesh and blood person with flaws and all that jazz. And once, you figure that out, like, okay, I can see where this is going, and that's fine. I think that's, that's what I like about The Great Gatsby, the idea that to the extent that it holds up as a classic piece of literature, I do think that's why it's important. It's, teaching guys the idea that the ideal woman is still a three-dimensional human being that in some ways is just as screwed up as you are. I did appreciate that right from the get-go, none of the people that he runs into are movie star glamorous. They look like real human beings. So does he, for that matter. And
shot
so
that way too.
What was that?
It's shot that way too.
Yeah.
Not
I mean, it's
anything.
On one hand, yeah, sure, to a certain extent, it's a vanity project in which he's driving around America where every random woman wants to schlep him. On the other hand, again, these are not supermodels throwing themselves at the, irresistible Vincent. This isn't Bram Stoker's Dracula, where everybody wants to fuck Gary Oldman because he's just so fucking sexy.
He's also magic.
You've seen the movie. You know they're not lying.
Oh no, I agree. But it's especially because he looks so, grandpa-ish for the half of that film. I always sort of like, wait a minute.
He has like magic hypnotism powers. I mean,
Yeah, it's Dracula.
I can get it. I can get it when he's like young, he's got the long hair and the beard and shit. And not so much when he's like Grandpa Simpson, but whatever.
Scott really admired the Ethan Hawke
They used Mr. Burns. So
exactly. But anyway, in relation to Bram Stoker's Dracula and the Brown Bunny, no, divorced from the quote unquote controversy and the melodrama, it is a perfectly entertaining watch it once, never see it again. Again, it's in a vacuum, it'd be one of a gajillion low budget drive across America indie pictures. And I think the Great Gatsby stuff is what gives it its thematic undercurrent that makes it more than just a travelogue. And as far as the Ebert stuff, and I just recently finished listening to listening to the audiobook of his book about Siskel and Ebert, which is very good, by the way, on Opposable Thumbs. And one of the things that stands out is that as much as people like to throw out Roger Ebert as sort of the be-all, end-all to criticism, and sort of in the same way that like lots of white people like to quote Martin Luther King to show that they're somehow on the side of right.
Yeah.
And no, I'm making a point here.
I know you are.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that we now love Siskel and Ebert for are the kind of take no prisoners bullshit, take no bullshit criticism that today would be absolutely trashed on social media as being hurtful and toxic and mean to the artists and all the crap that it's
they should let the fans write this, not them.
Exactly. And in a skewed way that is almost not unlike the way certain people in the GOP like to quote MLK, but I digress. But yeah, I mean, I do like that he saw the movie, said this is terrible. Gallo recut it, said, oh, well, this is a better version. Kudos, literally kudos, a thumbs up. But beyond that, it's a perfectly okay picture. And again, I'm amused that this film came out in 2004 when the internet existed. Ergo, it was not nearly as hard as it had been maybe a few years earlier, if you were so inclined to find video imagery of an attractive woman giving fellatio to a young man. So again, the fact that this sort of became a huge story, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And of course, this was the same year that Janet Jackson shocked America by accidentally flashing her boob for 10 seconds on television. Which again, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Where Justin Timberlake did this and then escaped any blame whatsoever.
Oh yeah.
Only to be arrested for drunk driving 20 years later.
No, for the record, I totally blamed Timberlake. I was just making a point.
Yeah. No.
Why did you finally watch all of the rest of the movie?
Some people have that Phoebe Cates time code for Fast Times queued up. Brown, but no, that scene in question, like, I remember even back then, I'm like, this isn't like great. Like, it's a wonder. Like, yeah, there's nothing glorifying to it. It's very dour when it happens, and they only like. It looks like there was like one take of it, and then they cut to other angles where she's probably just making motions, and that's the tasteful way if you're trying to have the shock value of showing it. But I think without it, like, here's the thing. If they don't show it happening, I feel like it's less dour. Like, it feels pathetic seeing it, and that's part of the mood that I think you're supposed to have. So
there's artistic justification for it.
There it really is, because if you take that out, it's probably more appealing looking than seeing it.
Well, it's like in the same way if you watch the unrated cut of Natural Born Killers, the over-the-top graphic gore actually makes the violence more cartoonish and less disturbing, I would argue, than the R-rated version, which in some ways feels colder and more clinical.
No, that's often the case, I see. When it comes to making certain concessions, it works for the better of the film because you're like, you're
sometimes a cut is more impactful than seeing, like, the flinch you get from the cut and the anticipation that you don't see is better than just gushing or whatever that you want to see.
It's a Scarface thing, right?
Yeah.
You imagine what happens in the shower.
Exactly.
What you actually see.
I remember when I got that on DVD, I bought it at Walmart at midnight because I used to do that back in the day. And I got him like, did Walmart cut the fucking shower scene? Did they? And I'm like, wait. And there never was one. Like, I felt like because Scarface notoriously took forever to come out on DVD, the Brian De Palma one. But then I got him like, wait, I thought there was more to this shower. There's not. So as a whole, this movie, this feels out of time because this looks like some sort of like a regional independent film from like the 1970s and 80s. Like, it plays like that. He shot on 16 millimeters. So it's
like one of Dennis Hopper's friends come over the camera and gave it to him.
Yeah. Like it like look like there's I've seen like a lot of horror movies and stuff from like a Let's Scare Jessica to Death type movie where it's very hippie hangout. Not very interesting as it is with it. And like just him traveling, being a sad bastard, and like just women just fawning over this guy, being allowed to do, like, it's definitely truly feels like a movie where the women were definitely written by a man. Like, I don't know if the idea is for them to be hollow shells, or not, but I don't know. The payoff, like, there's no true build to what this movie's trying to pay off. So it is whiplash when we see what actually, not only you get there's like two reveals, what happened, and then, like, I don't know if should we spoil a 20-year-old movie? Like, it's whiplash. And I'm like, what in this movie was leading us to believe? Like, I really think we needed more kind of connectivity to him and his racing to kind of fuel who he is and what's going on here. And it's just where he goes to her parents' house and they're chatting is just really fucking odd. That could have hinted to something. Like, there is some stuff like deeply thematic that I didn't pick up on until I read some stuff about the movie, having to deal with the life expectancy of a brown bunny and all that kind of stuff. Or just a bunny in general, not specifically that color. But
red bunnies live for like 1,000 years.
Yeah, there you go. True. that I'm just like, I guess I'm dumb and not picking up on, but like
Yes.
it's it's egregious. Like I compliment it for capturing the essence of those regional films, but like I don't know. Like there's something there and there's something not. Like I don't know if it's like I give a pass for art housiness or it's really just not there and it's taking too long to get to where it's at.
And that's why you have Shades of Grey to talk about, right? Because like I
Yeah.
don't by any means think this is a perfect movie, but I think
No.
it's too interesting for me to be like not good, very bad.
I
Like
think it's effective. No, I do think it's effective, but I think it's skating by and it leaves you with its effectiveness rather than um being up to it. It's not a long movie, so it's not like it's like
That's
just
the other thing.
excessive. Yeah.
Like it's not. You said it's slow cinema, and it is, but it's
Yeah.
not. You know, it's not.
At
Jean
least
Nielsen.
it's not like 118 minutes like the original cut was, I think.
Yeah.
It moves, so to
Yeah.
speak. It gets to where it needs to go at a relatively quickly, which is.
It needed to
But
be
it doesn't have the directorial skill of like a Jarmusch who can do this minimalist stuff very well. Or
right. Well,
even like Shane Carruth's Primer, which is
yeah.
it's leaving out all kinds of stuff that could fill in all the details for you, but it's still like weirdly intriguing. This movie doesn't really have
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm now thinking of the Jarmusch version, which is also dryly funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be funnier. It'd be a funnier movie. That's the other thing.
Right.
Bill Murray's terrific.
Well, there's a movie, a weird comparison movie that I feel like it needed to be more like, and it's probably because of the opening and stuff. But Le Mans, but Steve McQueen movie,
Yeah.
where it's kind of slice of life, but you need like you're just watching something as it happens, which is kind of like how you do with this movie. But like, there's, I don't know, interest to it. There's, yeah.
Adam Driver stars in the Jarmusch version, right?
Of this.
Hi.
If it was made now, yes.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, Brandon, you're not like that's why like Somewhere came to mind, where that's a movie where it literally starts with Stephen Dorff driving in circles for like 5 minutes straight. It's like, what's the point of all this? But Coppola, she's a good filmmaker. It leads to things that add up. There's more. Is the essence has like more flavor on top of it, despite it being her most minimalist film that she's made. So it's like there's something there. Gallo. I think Buffalo 66 again. That movie's really rich.
No. People, that's a good movie.
By comparison, it has a lot more going on, even though I can see the through line between them as far as the direction goes. But like this one just feels so like it makes me wonder what that Cannes cut was, because it probably really was interminable at that point.
Right. I don't care for the dialogue in this movie, which probably is mostly improv. Like it's just uninteresting. It's like and him and Chloe Savini in the hotel room talking to each other is just kind of a drag. It's the stuff I like from it is visually, and I'm not talking about just the BJ. I'm talking about like the flashback and all that, but like the way that the emoting they have and all that is just like, Jesus Christ. It's like you're watching a couple heroin addicts have an argument. Like it's
and
I mean that's probably part of the movie is that this is not fun.
I guess Gus Van Sant would be another good call as far as especially this era of Gus Van Sant would probably be very in line with what Gallo's doing.
Yeah, like this.
I mean, I remember the first kind of movie of this I had seen was The Last Days.
Yeah,
and I had no idea what I was into. Excuse me, what I was in for, and honestly, I didn't care much for it because it wasn't anything like I was expecting. I'm sure if I rewatched it today, I'd probably appreciate it a bit more. But whatever. Sorry, carry on.
Jerry, though, you just go on walks all the time after that movie.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But this, like, I sound like I'm being super negative of the three of us this one, but like,
I don't think you.
I do think it has value. No. But with that, when we say it has value, there's a big caution. I think with it, like this is
the most not for everyone movie that we'll probably talk about.
It's
That
in the
said,
top
I mean,
5 of the summer for that category. Yeah.
for sure. But that said, the reason why we're not trying to spoil it, I think, is because of the movies we're talking about. I'd imagine this might be one of the ones that's the most checked out by people that have listened to us talking about these movies,
Right.
just because they've probably heard its reputation, or are at the very least curious what this thing is compared to, some of the other movies we're talking about later, or watching Bourne or Anchorman for the umpteenth time.
Yeah.
This is one where it's like they probably would be curious at the very least to see what this is all about.
And Gallus credit as the DP on this as well, and he does get some really good coverage shots in areas. And I do like the race stuff, which I've from what I've studied up on with this movie, was a lot of the excessive problem Ebert had with it was that this movie's opening sequence was a lot of racing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of where the cutting started before we got to this 90-ish minute cut for it. So yeah. But yeah, Brown Bunny, it was newsworthy of its day. But what else was in the news back in this day? Oh, good, you should ask as we head to the news this week.
And I found a reason for you. And the reason is news.
Yeah. Tall, thin guy, spiky hair. He's leaving the show. Wow. It's funny, because the Cubs and the White Sox are in playoff berths, and Kilby is leaving the show. It must be Armageddon. Well, listen, anyway, good luck. Whatever you do, I know you're going to be successful. Take care. Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Thank God I don't have to buy him any more dinners.
All right. Olympic highlights. There are loads of them, but unlike last time, I kind of whittled it down to some more notables rather than just tiresome. I got bored reading them. So on August 25th, the Greek athlete Fani Chalkia comes out of retirement to compete in her home Olympics in Athens and wins the 400-meter hurdles gold medal.
Ooh,
That's pretty cool.
I was a hurdler. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's tough. That's a tough race.
Yeah. Come out of retirement and win a gold medal. That's cool. The next day, Germany wins its first ever Olympic women's field hockey gold medal. Day after that, Australia wins its first ever Olympic men's field hockey gold medal. That same day, China's first ever gold in Olympic Games men's track and field. German kayaker Birgit Fischer wins gold. And she's the first kayaker, 500 meter, and she also won silver.
Kayaker? I barely know her.
All right, Scott.
I was gonna say, for shot put, what? Hold on.
First woman in any sport to win gold medals at 6 different Olympics. Pretty cool.
Right.
Huge upset. Men's basketball semifinal at the Athens Olympics. Argentina beats a star-studded but unsettled U.S. team 89-81. They go on to take the gold and U.S. bronze, led by San Antonio Spurs shooting guard Manu Ginobili. Argentina beats Italy for the Olympic basketball gold medal.
That is very on brand for America in the year 2004.
Yes. Huge upset at the Athens Olympic Stadium in the men's 4x100-meter relay. Great Britain edges the United States to take the gold medal. The Olympics games closes on August 29th is what happened. But other news that wasn't Olympic related. August 24th, 89 passengers die after 2 airliners explode after flying out of Domodedovo International Airport near Moscow. The explosions were caused by suicide bombers, reportedly female, from the Russian Republic of Chechnya.
Well, that's awful.
That is bad.
Representation matters.
Yeah, I love. On August 27th, this is Craig Kilborn's final appearance as host of The Late Late Show on CBS after 1,190 episodes.
Somehow its ratings were -5. What?
Yeah, that's a lot. So that means he was on there for like 4 or 5 years? I thought he was on there and quickly gone.
Yeah,
On
people that,
Peacock, if you get -5, you get an automatic 2-season renewal.
the thing about Craig Kilborn's show is that people often just left their TVs on and fell asleep, and it was going. That's why he kept going so long.
Did they replace him with
With Scott Shish.
the guy from
Craig
Drew
Kilborn.
Carey? Drew Carey. No, Kilborn left.
No, Craig Ferguson.
Ferguson.
yes.
Yeah. Did they? Was that, or was there someone in between? Was
I believe
Ferguson
it was
right away?
Ferguson. Yeah,
Ferguson was on there for a while,
he was. Yeah.
and then they didn't replace him
And he
with
was good.
anybody else.
A famously empty slot after that.
Oh, it was Kilborn did Daily Show for 1 year and left, right?
It was on a little longer than a year, but yes,
He
was
left
the host, he was
quickly.
the original host of the Daily Show. Then Jon Stewart was, "What if we did this but good?"
Yeah,
and so it changed, and then it became a whole thing.
yeah. Kilborn was like the Chevy Chase of Daily Show.
That's so mean.
Yeah, but Chevy Chase at least was good at his
With
job.
no talent.
Yes.
Well, Kilborn, I
I
remember
watched a couple of those episodes.
Kilborn started on ESPN Sports Center. He was him and Olbermann
seems
were
like
a
a guy.
duel. Yeah, him and Keith Olbermann were a duel that
I don't have a lot of
pretty
life
good.
for Kilborn. I'm sorry.
I don't either. He was fine.
He's a great asshole at old school. He
Right.
really plays himself well.
Well, the only time I liked him on ESPN on Sports Center. That was when I liked him, and then after that, I was just like, yeah,
Wait, are we still on Keith Olbermann here?
no, Kilborn,
Oh, okay.
because him and
Because-
Olbermann were together on
Yeah,
that.
because Olbermann went off to kind of help save democracy and shit.
He was a
Before it
political
was popular.
commentator. Yeah.
Yeah.
On August 29th at the 21st MTV Video Music Awards, Outkast, Beyonce, and Usher featuring Lil Jon and Ludacris all win. That's what it said. I don't know for what. I imagine, yeah, if they said Usher featuring Lil Jon and Ludacris. Outkast at the time was doing Stanko, or not Stanko, so but it was the Speaker Box Love Below. So I imagine Hey Ya was the big winner.
Yeah.
And Beyonce was Naughty Girl Time, so it's probably where we're at
This
with
is
those.
around the last time I watched the MTV Awards.
Yeah.
The music awards anyway. The movie I tried to stick with until they stopped caring.
Yeah. Music was that.
Back in my day, the MTV Movie Awards were one of the best shows of the year.
They honestly were back in
They
like,
were.
the
They did some
90s
good
and early
stuff.
2000s. They,
Jack
like,
Black
gave it-
hosted.
They
and
did their homework. They
They had
gave a
interesting
damn.
ideas. They had good skits. Like Joel Gallen, who directs Not Another Teen Movie. He was a really good force of direction when it came to
Yeah.
like the mini movies and stuff
Mhm.
like that would come for it.
Yeah. August 29th, German Ferrari driver Michael Schumacher clinches his 5th straight F1 World Drivers' Championship with a 2nd place in the Belgian F1 Grand Prix at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps.
Fuck yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Mazel
he did.
tov.
He did it really good. So,
Will we ever get like movies of this stuff? Like, we get movies of like the Olympics and Grand Prix from like the 60s and the
Mhm.
70s. Like, what are
Newer.
there gonna be, like 2000s movies about the Olympic? I was like, what would be an event that we'd cover in this capacity?
Harry Strug. I think she's the one that broke her leg and still won
Yeah.
the U.S. Gold.
Yeah.
they made a
Medal.
TV movie about that.
Yeah.
Probably excellent.
They made a TV movie.
God, Shannon Miller was so hot back then.
But it's
Which
like,
I can say because we were the same age.
does anyone care about like Michael Phelps? Like, look at this guy win stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
And,
I'm
like,
sure
obviously, yeah.
Lance Armstrong was primed for something, but
they made that movie already.
Did they?
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Frears and Ben Foster, and it's not very good.
okay.
The program. I mean, there's the Blade Runner, but I don't think anyone really wants to see a movie about that necessarily.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Like, we had like events that we could like turn into a movie.
There was
and
like
now it-
Miracle, the hockey one.
Which
Yeah,
was
that's
quite
like
good,
from the
by the
past.
way.
Those are like
Yeah.
there's like stuff that's naturally fit for cinema. The Cold War,
Mhm.
race relations, civil rights movement. Like, it's like nowadays it's like, what do you really? What do you
Well, we
basically-
had the motherfucker who found this place movie, Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I meant in terms of like the sports, the inspirational sports.
Oh.
Was the hunt for bin Laden an Olympic sport?
Yeah, man.
I must have missed that.
The biggest game.
The
The biggest.
scene where they give Jessica Chastain the medal at the podium at the end.
It's the biggest game of hide and go seek of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
inspirational.
you're right. I think it goes to a broader thing of this, a certain reluctance to make movies about newer events, because I think to a certain extent the people that greenlight them are still even older than us.
I guess you could make the one about if you want to go baseball, there's that year, the right after the World Series that followed 9/11, where the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Yankees, where it was the Diamondbacks were all these old veteran players, and the Yankees were like, well, New York's going to do it because of 9/11.
Yeah.
And then all the veteran guys finally got their World Series. It was like Mark Grace and a bunch of guys.
Like, I guess might have felt like Moneyball is one of the most recent examples of
Yeah.
this. It's like
And that's one reason even though I don't think it's a great movie, why I really enjoyed Dumb Money from last year, because it was like really bracing to see a movie that was present tense.
Yeah. Someone's
In
going to
that
make a Tom
sense.
Brady movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Someone's going to make a Tom Brady movie.
But I guess you need like the time to go with it, right? Because you made Miracle in 2002 or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, this year that we're talking about.
Kobe. They're going to make a movie about Kobe
Yeah,
Bryant.
Kobe will happen. Yeah,
Kobe will happen. Kobe will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would, what would be an interesting story would be the 2019 Toronto Raptors, which is the last championship before the COVID, but like that was they couldn't get, they traded for Kawhi Leonard for 1 year and they won the championship, and he left them, but like he had one of the most amazing like single player playoff runs of all time. And everybody thought the Raptors were dumb for, trading away for guy for 1 year, and it won him a championship. So that's an interesting one. Go Canada, right? Neighbors to the north, who are Americans as well, just so people know.
Don't let anyone else tell you different.
Just so you know.
They might say different.
Yeah, right now they're like, no, you guys can go ahead and have
Well,
Americans.
at the time of this podcast, we're like electing Ryan Reynolds president of the world right now or something.
Right. That's what happened. Yep. Okay, so deaths this week. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the psychiatrist, a Dutch writer and poet. He's publisher of the San Diego Union Tribune, Helen Copley, singer-songwriter of Gloria, Laura Branigan, baseball player Will Crawford, and Hans Vonk, a Dutch philharmonic conductor. We have no birthdays, but Scott will be happy about this. We are just days away from the birth of South Korean pop singer Jang Won-young of Iswan.
There you go, Scott.
I'm not into K-pop.
Scott,
But
put away that T-shirt. We know you're a fan.
Okay, and we have a
wait. If I say the wrong thing, I will be murdered.
That's true. I set you up. We have a wedding. Actor, writer Peter Herman at the Unitary Society in Santa Barbara, California, marries
Mrs. Herman.
Law and Order Special Victims Unit star
Richard Belzer?
Mariska Hargitay. Didn't know Belzer was gay.
No, he's not. As far as I know.
The love guru's Mariska Hargitay. Okay.
Yeah. I can't tell you whether or not they produced a baby, but I can tell you our next movie produced some Superbabies. Baby Geniuses 2.
Okay.
I thought you said Baby Jesuses, which would also been an interesting movie.
Why is it
I want to
plural?
make the Baby Jesus.
Why are there more than one?
I have cloned him, but only at the baby form. Each baby Jesus comes with 3 wise men.
America's favorite talking babies are back
It's me! Team now!
on August 27th.
Spread the love.
Family Adventure.
Give them!
Comes in small packages.
Why don't you pick on somebody half your size? What kind of milk you drinking?
Super Babies. Baby Geniuses 2.
I like bouncing. Can our brother get some water? Get back to work.
Rated PG. You're invited to visit nickjr.com. In theaters August 27th.
All right. This is directed by Summer of 82 at 40's Bob Clark.
Yep.
From
Sure
Porky's
is.
to Baby Geniuses.
I love that he came back for the sequel.
Yes.
Came back.
Came back. Oh,
I
written.
didn't say all I had to say with the first Baby Geniuses.
You wanted to make the darker, grittier sequel that confronted the America's reaction to 9/11 and the
Yeah.
post-war on terror security state.
I love that this, like, written by Gregory Poppin on a story by Stephen Paul based on characters by Robert Grassmere and Francisca Matos. Because
Sure was.
there was the pitch room where Stephen Paul was like, yo, I got this. They're like, we don't think Stephen can write the screenplay. Gregory, can you go ahead and do this?
First things first, $ Ooper, Baby Geniuses.
Oh, there we go. Starring John Voight.
Oh boy.
Returning from Summer of 82 at 40, Scott Baio from Zapped. Vanessa Angel, Skylar Shea, a guy they tried to make happen that just never did, Justin Chatwin, and Peter Wingfield. A group of smart talking toddlers find themselves at the center of a media mogul's experiment to crack the code to baby talk. The toddlers must race against time for the sake of babies everywhere. So this week we have the sequel to a John Voight movie and John Voight starring in a sequel to another movie.
Real reflective.
And yeah, Baio and Voight, MAGA together,
Which,
in the movie.
ironically, this is a very prescient, ahead of its time movie about would-be Nazis that use trashy kids' TV to brainwash the Nathan's youth and to make them into little Hitlers.
Here we
Don't try
go.
to convince the audience to watch this, Scott.
Yes. Scott, let's start with you. And
well, I mean,
the movie
it
that
makes, as
did
such,
everybody
it makes a good
see?
double bill with the Manchurian Candidate.
Did everybody see the Baby Geniuses 1? Because I watched
No.
it
I watched it in preparation
in
for
preparation
Baby
for this,
Geniuses
and
too.
boy, I
didn't wanna
don't
be
feel
lost-
better.
I don't want to be lost in the plot. Like
I
would
will
be.
say that had a stat cast, and this
It
has
did.
like the straight to video stat cast.
It had a stack. It had
Which,
Kim
I guess-
Cattrall from Bob Clark's Porky's.
Yeah,
So,
Kim
reunion.
Cattrall was there. Like, oh my.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
Scott.
you're saying you weren't lost, not having done the research?
No, I found it very easy to follow.
I didn't. But okay.
Well, once you've wandered into Demon Slayer the movie without having to see the TV show, you can handle anything.
Or, well, I can't handle Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie, but go on.
Well, they kind of explained Yu-Gi-Oh! Every single step of the way what they're doing.
And I get more
No.
lost. So,
but yeah, Baby Geniuses 2. First of all, it does that dumb thing that I'm sick and tired of sequels doing, which is turning the protagonists into superheroes because they think people like superheroes, when for fuck's sake, people do not like superheroes in the abstract. They like the Marvel characters. They like the DC characters, kind of, sort of. They don't want superheroes in the fucking abstract.
take that,
Stop.
Despicable Me 4.
You know what? I was all set to whine about Despicable Me 4, but to its credit, there's only really a single scene where they do that, and it's them being awful, awful superheroes. So that was funny.
In one of the 80 subplots of that movie, yes.
Yes, correct. But anyway, I did appreciate that the final scene felt like an ode to the series finale of Justified, but I digress.
Move on.
This is much more than I laughed at any point in time in Baby Geniuses 2, by the way. Or the Brown Bunny, for that matter.
We go from I like this movie that I put Brown Bunny and then Baby Geniuses too. Like families were just hopping back and forth to the theater.
Well, when Baby Geniuses is sold out, because that obviously happened many times in America. Spoiler, it did not.
I like the idea that a parent would see the titles Super Baby Geniuses and Brown Bunny and think, well, there's 2 G-rated movies here.
Yeah.
If one's sold out, I might as well go to the other. I also, this scenario also presumes that Super Baby Geniuses was at some point sold out and that the only other resort.
Well, yeah, at the 3 theaters Brown Bunny was showing, so was Baby Geniuses.
Oh, what, the Super Baby Geniuses was at the Neuwirth in LA at one point?
It was in the Dome, motherfucker. Heroes can go to hell. We need to make room for Baby Geniuses.
Cinematic history.
Anyway, I mean, obviously we're beating around the bush because there's not that much to say about this utterly mediocre picture. Once again, I am impressed to the extent that any movie about anything at all can find a way, no matter how irrelevant, to put a hot, young, attractive girl in danger and have her be rescued by the random male protagonist, even when the male protagonist is a fucking baby. But I digress. Also, by the way, this film is in fact hornier and more openly romantic than Twisters. Thanks a lot, Spielberg.
Huh.
Other than that, I mean, this movie's a piece of shit. It makes Thunderbirds look like Spider-Man 2. I don't know. But you know, it is mediocre, it is boring, it is idiotic, it is not entertaining in the least, watching these babies sit around a table and kind of sort of talk like adult humans, but not in a particularly clever or fun way. They don't particularly say anything particularly funny or clever. They don't do anything particularly funny or clever.
That's what people are the reviews of the summer of 2020 also say.
Fair.
I'm just kidding.
No.
They love it. It's great.
I mean, other than, again, the half-serious notion that this film was ahead of its time by having a movie about Nazi villains, you know, modern-day Nazis trying to turn kids into Hitler Youth by god-awful brainwashing kids' TV, it's exactly as mediocre and irrelevant as you would expect it to be. And there's like 4 more after this, by the way. Apparently, John Boyd, this becomes his franchise because him and the young woman, Miss Shea, who's his goddaughter, by the way. I think she like only appears in movies that he's in, but whatever. Because she was in Bratz, and he was one of the bad guys in that. A couple other films, whatever. So this becomes like John Boyd's weird franchise after this picture. I don't know why. Spoiler: his character does not die at the end.
Does he grow back up again?
I don't know. I didn't see Baby Geniuses 3. Sorry. Should I have watched Baby Geniuses 3? No, I should not have. This movie's a piece of shit. I mean, who are we kidding? I mean, by default, it's one of the worst films of the summer because it's everybody's idiotic and moronic and whatever as you'd expect. And I'd say it's so bad it's good, but it's not even that kind of entertaining. So yeah.
I just want to update here. So in 2011, they made a original series. It only aired in Italy and the Far East. So they took those episodes and released them as movies, including Baby Geniuses and The Mystery of the Crown Jewels, which was episodes 1 through 4 repackaged as a movie. Then they released episodes 5 through 8 as Baby Geniuses and the Treasures of Egypt. And then they did 9 through 12, and that was released as Baby Geniuses and the Space Baby. They also had Baby Squad Investigators, also known as BSI for the hardcores. And yeah, that is the
Did they pay for
franchise.
a Who song to play over the opening credits?
Oh, I have no idea, but
now you want to find out, don't you?
I will let you tell me about it. So yeah, they weren't intended movies, but they were repackaged movies.
In related note, Walt Disney Presents Moana 2 coming to theaters this Thanksgiving.
Exactly. So Aaron, Yeah.
Well, Scott rambled his way into getting to the stuff that I found interesting, which was everything involving John Voight in those movies. So you guys just had to take all that away from me. So I have nothing else to add at all because I don't know why the word mediocre keeps going up because that does not describe this whatsoever. It's a terrible thing. This is the kind of thing I'd expect you to torture people with.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad at all by saying they should have gassed these babies. It's
They should have Milo and Otis this shit.
I was tempted to just like pull up old reviews I had to read those out loud instead of talking more about this movie because oh my god, this is horrendous. This is a blight on cinema. And it's I mean we can debate as to which films are the worst films we've seen this summer, but it's like this does feel like the product of a lot of people that could know better. Like Bob Clark's not an untalented person.
This luckily doesn't wind up his last film.
Sure.
But-
John Voight has options. You know,
National Treasure is like 3 months later.
Yeah.
That's again, John Voight has options, so it's like
He does come back. That's the thing.
The fact that this became his passion project is just beyond me, unless he really wants to like celebrate familyness with his kin that this is somehow falling into for them. I just don't know. I thought the first one was bad, like by a lot. And I was like, well, I don't know what, how you go lower than that first movie.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to write home about than that. That movie,
We
the first
did it!
one, they like pride themselves on we created special technology so you can like see the baby's lips moving and we can voice over it and it'll look like they're talking. And when I watched, it's like, this is just creepy. Like there's nothing innovative about this or exciting, right? It just looks, and it's also weird they keep calling them babies when they're all like toddlers. It's like there's no babies in this super baby movie. So, but yeah, then watching this one, it's like, oh boy, yeah, it sinks lower. Like no, this the trying to surmise like what the intention was in this, where you think, okay, like they got together and wanted to have like a good time making a film. I don't know where that factors into what the result is in this movie. Like, there's just nothing here that is. Everybody involved in this has been involved in bad projects, but this feels like it takes the cake for pretty much all of them. It's really a. What do you think, Brett?
Well, I did just mention that, hey, at least it wasn't Bob Clark's last movie. Well, he would go on to 2 more movies. His follow-up to Superbabies, Baby Geniuses 2, would be the television movie The Karate Dog.
Oh,
teaming him up with John.
We laugh so as not to cry.
You kayaking?
Well, I guess things went good on Superbabies because John Voight's back.
Oh yeah, he was producer on the first ones.
Yeah.
They must have famously got along.
Yeah. Simon Rex is in this movie. Pat Morita, Jamie Presley, and then Nicolette Sheridan voices a cat, and Lori Petty voices a dog. I don't know if it's the karate dog. The name is Collar. Collar. And then after that success, his final film would be Blonde and Blonder, to which he's not credited, starring Pamela Anderson, Denise Richards, Emmanuel Vaugier, and yeah, that's all she wrote for.
And he dies in like what, a car accident or something?
Yeah, it was a car accident.
He dies a year later.
Yeah,
if I'm looking at the right obituary.
Yeah, Dean Hamilton was credited with Bob Clark's uncredited, but also Dean Hamilton's a credited director. It says, comic mayhem ensues when 2 lovely blondes, Dee and Dawn, are mistaken for international mob killers.
It happens.
Yes.
Yeah, so Superbabies. I'll start with a compliment.
Go on.
It's nice to see Vanessa Angel. I watched the Weird Science TV show in the 90s.
Kingpin.
She was a babe. Kingpin, yep. That's pretty much what you know her from, but I liked her voice. But yeah, this movie is awful. Almost, and I want to say indescribably awful because we're all having a hard time just talking about its awfulness, but it I don't even know if kids would like this.
They didn't.
Like, yeah,
No.
they did, yeah. I mean, like, there's clearly nothing after the first one. And they're like, well, what if we give them superpowers? And it's like, that really doesn't affect anything in this
Nope.
movie at all. Yeah, what if the super baby is like child of Nazis? Is that what we're to believe here? That the hero in this is the child of Nazis and his brother is like still living the Nazi way? Like, okay.
Uh-huh.
I guess Whitebird isn't so unprecedented.
Yeah.
A movie that I'm sure by the time you listen to it would still not have been released.
Right.
Comes out this
The
October.
movie with the hardest left turn of a trailer I've ever seen.
Helen
What?
Mirren must be going broke trying to keep delaying that movie.
Yeah.
She keeps paying everybody to be like, what if we just didn't release this?
This is I don't know
Hey,
what.
David, Mr. Z, how do you do that?
So this was a punishment to watch. Like, it's offensive that it exists. And like, I don't know. It's
Like, we're like Madeline Kahn in Clue, right? Like, the flames?
yeah.
Oh,
This is one of all the 3 summers. Congrats, you've entered the final competition for like terrible movies.
Oh, this goes beyond that. This is life. This is beyond the summers.
I know that I gave a lot of shit to Yu-Gi-Oh! And will continue to give a lot of shit to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie. But out there are somebody who understands it and it means something to them.
this makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Look like Spider-Man 2.
No.
At least Yu-Gi-Oh! Made me go to sleep. Like, I could compliment it. This was just like my eyes were inextricably attached to what was happening.
Yu-Gi-Oh! It didn't make it look. It makes it look at least like Battle LA or some shit like that. I'm not gonna give it Spider-Man 2 cred.
It's one of those things like, you know, this movie exists, but like, does it? Similar to like Ballistics X versus Sever. Like,
Which one of these days I need to watch.
I'm sure there's 90 minutes of footage that this movie is on, but I've never actually seen any of it.
When I was setting up the movies, it was just listed at one of the first places I found it was just listed as Superbabies. And I was like, okay, Superbabies. What the fuck, Superbabies? And then I saw Baby Geniuses too. I'm like, oh fuck. I remember that title, Baby Geniuses.
Exactly. You remember that title. You remember there's a Baby Geniuses, because like Christopher Lloyd says like Baby Geniuses. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's a movie.
Yeah.
But they made a sequel. What would it be? What, does footage exist of this? They shot this movie, I guess.
I believe what I watched was a VHS rip of it.
That tracks.
Like, it was 4x3. I don't know. Like, I mean,
You really couldn't see the proper cinematic quality that Bob Clark was probably going for.
in prep for this episode, I watched another John Voight movie that is the prequel to one of the movies we're watching, and he's doing some funny shit in that, and it's entertaining as hell. This is not. Why can't we have at least that in this? We don't. He sucks in this movie.
He's doing a voice, if I recall. It's been a few weeks, but
a very Nazi voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's locked into something. Like, it seems like, I mean, he's a producer. He wants to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this movie is a total zero. Because I'm segueing into our next movie, Suspect Zero, so I have to talk about
Son of a bitch!
Superbabies anymore.
God damn it!
What? Were you like, where is this going? And then I gotcha? Is that what that is?
For listeners at home, we had 20 extra minutes that we've cut out of this episode that were focused on Superbabies.
Like the Brown Bunny.
Yeah, you pay for the Patreon, you'll get the other.
You'll get the festival cut.
the roadshow edition.
And like 1 hour photo, it's better.
All right, Suspect Zero.
See it.
The FBI trained him
Draw it now.
to see through a killer's eyes,
They call it remote viewing. We saw things vanish at the scene.
but they never taught him
Hey, Tom, what's going on?
This man is targeting serial killers.
how to stop.
Are you afraid?
Suspect Zero, rated R, starts August 27th, only in theaters.
Directed by E. Elias Marish. He's a music video guy. Comes
His
from
last film.
written by Zach Penn. So welcome back from Last Action Hero. And Billy Ray from a story by Zach Penn, starring Aaron Eckhart, Ben Kingsley, Carrie Ann Moss, Harry Lennox, Kevin Chamberlain, Julia Reyes, Keith Campbell, Chloe Alexa Ibanez, and a cameo from the late Robert Towne. A mysterious serial killer is preying on other serial killers, and one FBI agent suspects there may be more to the vigilante than the obvious characteristics. All right, Aaron, Suspect. 3, 2, 1, 0.
So this is a movie I saw with my mom. She was very much a fan of like serial killers stuff, thrillers, that kind of thing. Like Silence of the Lambs, one of her favorite movies.
Yeah.
She's big on like Thomas Harris novels and what have you. So like when this was coming out, she was excited. She went, the movie was coming out. I was there with her to see it, and she's a huge fan of Shadow of the Vampire, the director's previous movie.
Mhm.
And that was my interest as well. I was like, oh, okay, this is like his next film. And so, Aaron Eckhart, Carrie Ann Moss coming off Matrix movies, like, cool, let's see what this is going to be. All Ben Kingsley, like, good poster, ominous or what have you. I'm into Seven at that point and Fincher and stuff. So it's like, yeah, let's see what this is going to be. And disappointing was my reaction then. It never felt like it amounted to much. It seems like there's a version of this story that's probably a lot better that had been hacked up. That was my take originally. And within the years since and reading up more on it, it's like that's pretty much what seems to have happened. Like whatever version of this story that was like Spielberg has some famous thing if he like read the script and was terrified of it, whatever legend that wants to be, it is, but that's like something along those lines. Okay, I wish that movie was here, because this movie, watching it again now, years later after the 4K release came out, making me think, is there some like cult audience that loves this movie? Well, watching it, no, I can't imagine there being much of a big one, because it's boring. That's the biggest problem with it. It's a boring movie. It's a lot of Aaron Eckhart sitting at a desk staring at papers being like, what does this all mean? And like Carrie Ann Moss being like, I should be the lead of this because I'm better. And Ben Kingsley being like, I'm just here on the weekends to shoot like side scenes that'll eventually tie in for whatever reason. There's nothing that exciting about the premise it presents. It's, I think, convoluted to a point where it's not confusing to like figure out like what's actually taking place here, but the film, I feel like, is priding itself on its convolution, which I think is a big problem, because it doesn't really have much to go with. It just presents it as if it does. Thematically, it's just not that interesting as far as what it's trying to accomplish with its killer plot and why the killer does the things it does and what have you. And it, for being a movie that's set in like the deserts and what have you, like there's ways to make that cinematically interesting. And this movie just kind of refuses to be that. It has some visual intrigue as far as symbols and things, but it gets really lost in doing anything interesting with that as well. And it's thankfully only like, 90-ish minutes. So it's not like a chore. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, this is why it's released in late August. I get it. Not very good.
Gotcha. Scott.
Yeah, this is, I mean, with the important caveat that I had seen Hero and already knew that, spoiler, Hero is good. This was the one I was most looking forward to watching this set. Just because, yeah, I like, grindhouse serial killer movies as much as the next nerd. this does feel like a 110-minute movie or 115-minute movie that got hacked to pieces into just under 90 minutes. To the point that I found it confusing in a way that I don't think it's because I'm, getting dumber or anything like that.
Oh.
I am getting older, so that could be. But you try having 3 kids. But no, it's like it's a far more complicated movie than it needs to be, because when push comes to shove, it's a very simple premise.
Yeah.
And you're right, Aaron Eckhart is sort of doing minor league training for his second career as a direct-to-video action star. And it's weird because, to his credit, he has not aged very much. I kept forgetting that I'm watching a film that came out 4 years before The Dark Knight, because he basically looks and acts the same way he would in his various direct-to-VOD genre pictures of very varying quality. Some of which
you
are
get far when you have a jawline like his.
Yeah. And he is a compelling performer. He always has been. And this is that point in time where it was still a little bit unusual for Ben Kingsley to be playing a bad guy. This is about 2 or 3 years after Sexy Beast. Eventually, this would be, although this is like a couple months after Thunderbirds, isn't it?
This is his second bad guy. I don't know.
He won an Oscar playing a bad guy. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Gandhi?
A food-free bad guy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, so this is still a point where it's a little, it's a little special to see.
I don't know, like he's bad at sneakers. He's bad at a lot of stuff. I mean, he's not Gary Oldman, but I mean,
I remember when Sexy Beast came out, it was sort of like, holy shit, we've never seen
because
this
he's
before.
like saying the C word every 10 seconds. Like, I mean, like that's not just being a bad guy. It's being like, oh, look how crazy I am. Like it's going hard.
But beyond that, I mean, there's not much going on in this movie beyond one of those films that is cryptic and mysterious merely because it chooses not to tell you important information until the time comes where characters sit there and tell you important information. It's one of those films where a lot of the third act is basically explaining what the first 2 acts actually mean. And that is a pet peeve of mine in films, good and bad. I mean, The Accountant kind of does that. Lucky Number 11 kind of does that. But it's boring because it's the serial killer character goes after other serial killers, so it's not like, oh no, somebody stop him. That's a shame. And I mean, to its because of that, it's not particularly lurid in that sense. He's not going after nuns and widows and whatever in that sleazy kind of way, but it's the kind of film that just a few years later would have gone, direct to DVD, and we never would have barely heard of it unless we happen to be strolling Blockbuster and like, oh, okay.
Or become like an 8-season TV series set in Miami.
Oh God, don't say that out loud.
That they're making a prequel series too now.
Right.
God, you're right.
Suspect -3.
I hope they still have flashbacks to him where he wears a hat backwards to pretend to be younger.
Don't be nice to the one good part of Saw 7.
I mean Dexter, where they have the flashbacks. Where
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I never got into Dexter. So, I mean, obviously I'm aware of what it is. And oh, shit, you're really fucking, you know what? Somebody else talk.
All right.
This movie's got nothing to offer. I will watch pretty much any shitty scene. I've seen Mind Cage, the Martin Lawrence, John Malkovich garbage, and that was much better than this.
Like you, Scott, I enjoy these like FBI horror movies that that came in the wake of Silence of the Lambs, all throughout the 90s. But here we're clearly on the edge of them needing some sort of refresh, or someone to strike something new with them. I had heard of this movie, but never saw it, so this is my first time going through it. The opening, I was like, oh look, it's the Die Hard 3 with the Vengeance. Oh, very real cool stuff, guys. That guy.
No, that's not him.
That's not him.
No, it's not. It's not Pruitt Taylor.
Oh shit! I thought it was him. They're familiar.
It's Identity.
Okay.
Speaking serial killer type stuff.
Okay. Wait, the killer in
He always
Identity?
plays the nicest men.
Pruitt Taylor Vince. He's not in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Okay,
So
okay.
That's,
All
that's
right.
all the main thing I'm saying here.
So I'm making up shit now.
That's way too of a good guy for him to play.
Gotcha. So this is kind of reminds me of a movie that hit this this summer, where it's this kind of, what do you say, FBI type horror movie that you kind of go into it thinking it is grounded, but it takes a supernatural turn that is kind of like a fork for people, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're talking about the Kid with the Planet of the Apes.
Yes. Thank you. So yeah, I hate to echo what you guys say, but yeah, it's kind of uninteresting. I don't think Kingsley's all that good in it,
No.
and I think Eckhart's a bit much in this movie.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
he
anyway,
pounds a lot of
yeah,
messes.
hold up. Kevin Chamberlain's the guy I'm referring to at the beginning of this movie in the diner, who is in Die Hard with a Vengeance, who's the scientist that's like, really cool stuff, guys.
It's Pruitt Taylor Vince at the beginning.
No, it's not.
It is.
It is Die Hard with a Vengeance, and he's in. Is he? I swear. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He plays Harold Speck, the first victim. Is Harold?
He is right, Kevin Chamberlain.
Thank you.
Is Pruitt Taylor Vince not in the credits for this movie that I saw though?
He is in it, but he's not the guy I was talking about.
Okay.
I was talking about the guy in Die Hard with a Vengeance. That
I know
the stuff, the really cool stuff, and he's the guy in the diner at the beginning, and the first guy that gets his eyes gouged
I know
out.
who you're referring to. That I'm melding together bald, hefty white guys because I just saw the name Pruitt Taylor Vince.
Yes,
like,
no, this is the guy from Die Hard with a Vengeance. Okay, I thought I was going nuts, so I looked it up. I was like, okay. So yeah, it's got this hook, but then it's got a fork where I'm like, meh. Eckhart's a bit much, but I was thinking like Carrie Ann Moss, who I'll read a phone book because I think she's a fantastic actress and underutilized. If you switch her and Eckhart in this movie, does it get better?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Like, that gives it something more interesting. She can handle that kind of role better.
Yeah.
And Eckhart can handle her role a lot better.
Yeah, it's a more interesting dynamic too. It's like, what if there's this disgraced female FBI agent that's been sent out to the desert? I haven't seen that movie. You know, the closest I've seen is this season of True Detective, like 20 years later. Like, so that's already an interesting dynamic. What if there's this female FBI and like Aaron Eckhart's just the straight arrow that's like, oh, we used to have a relationship and whatever, like
right. Well, and then when you have the scenes of her and Kingsley, they feel more like equal. But like, she could take him in a fight, or he could take her in a fight. Where you feel Eckhart's got the upper hand on Kingsley at any given moment. I don't know. When there's untrusted, there's a lot of desert in this movie, not interestingly used. But yeah, this is the type of movie I'm hoping to at least get like mild enjoyment from watching, and I'll say it like leads you enough in like the first act, but never goes anywhere interesting after that, and its explanations don't work too much for me, and there's confusion in parts, which probably has to do from that script hacking or trying to change what it is. But yeah, this just is kind of blah. Well, no, it's not kind of blah, it is very blah. It feels well intentioned, it just isn't there, and I just think there's some pieces in the wrong places. Just overall, just meh.
I can't recall if the director was unsatisfied with like what the studio did with it or what have you, but like it does feel like a movie that just kind of sits there, like people just kind of whatever editing happened, and they're just like, I guess we're done, and released it. It's not like Snowman bad in terms of
Yeah.
really left out crucial information that defies the nature of the film.
Hmm.
But it still feels just kind of like well, we tried our best and this is what we got. Like that's kind of the end result here.
Right. Well, this movie, I mean, this had a chance for like some sort of like rediscovery or the fans to come out from the woodwork because it came on 4K last December. I think Blu-ray too for the first time. No one cared. I didn't see any like, oh my gosh, Suspects. Like it was just kind of like, oh, that one.
The fact that I saw a little bit of it just because there's always that one person that's like, finally they released this unseen masterpiece. But like but like the fact that it got to that release to begin with is like, well, clearly there's somebody at Kino that's like, I have an idea, and like they went for it, and got everyone involved to restore it and do what they needed to do.
Yeah, it's a movie I don't remember much from its theatrical run, but I do remember seeing it like the rental stores plenty. Like, what is that Suspect Zero? What is that?
I remember it coming and going because again, like my mom was excited for it. I remember seeing like the posters or what have you,
Mhm.
and then by the time we saw it, and then we'll talk about the box office a little bit, but it's like, yeah, didn't make an impression. It's kind of like came in, it's like, yeah, that happened, and then it's out of there.
Yeah, I mean, you're living in Southern California, so I think that movie's gonna get pushed more. But this is the kind of movie that
Oh yeah,
where I'm at
Suspect Zero Fever was running rampant
in Indiana, you're gonna have to see the right movie to catch the trailer for it. Like it's not happening. But yeah, yeah, this is just it's like Copycat. That's a fine like silence knockoff that isn't it's super remarkable.
It's got character.
Yeah,
that's what. Yeah,
this is like and let's just extend the desert stuff and Seven a bunch, and like it's and like I said, Eckhart's just too like he's a competent actor, but this is like overacting from him.
it is. That's why I meant, and you said very clearly, if they switched roles, I think there's a compelling film there automatically.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, yeah, that makes it much. I don't know if it saves this film. I'd probably not because part of my problem is the story being uninteresting. But to take in is probably better than that. Yeah. So yeah. Anybody got anything else on Suspect Zero? No.
It stinks.
All right. But do the TV ratings stink this week, Scott? This week
on CBS, the most watched new drama, the most watched new show, the most watched reality show, the most watched news magazine, the show with more 2003 Emmys than any other series, and the most watched show on television.
Old habits die hard.
We know you have a lot of choices. Thanks for making CBS America's most watched network.
Number one, CSI with 12.6 million. And these are, of course, going off my tried and true sourcing. The Summer Olympics are still going on and our ratings king. But here's the other stuff that was top 10 popular. Amazing Race with 10.5 million viewers. Number 3, Without a Trace, 10.5 million viewers. 4, CSI Miami with 10.2 million viewers. Number 5, Big Brother Tuesday with 9.7 million viewers. Number 6, 60 Minutes with 9.6 million viewers. Number 7, Everybody Loves Raymond with 9.4 million viewers. 8, Cold Case with 8.8 million viewers. 9, 2.5 Men with 8.8 as well. And finishing 10th, 48 Hours with 8.1 million viewers. Now, on Sunday night, CBS showed to the tune of 5.8 million viewers. Scott? What did they show?
I don't know. CSI? Amazing Race?
A Sunday night movie. What was it?
Oh, fuck. 2004. You've already done Mission Impossible 2. Gladiator?
Oh, no. Aaron?
I need something to go off of here. I mean, last time it was a movie that was 4 years old.
It's a movie that has somebody tackling the dangers and corruption of the media.
15 Minutes?
That's 4 years old. The dangers and corruption of the
It's
media.
more than 4 years old.
Is there like some sneaky reason why they would choose this movie, or is it just like it's just a movie?
Broadcast news?
The Insider? Like, I don't know.
Oh, that's
Tomorrow Never Dies was the
fuck.
Sunday night movie on CBS. When Scott said Mission Impossible, I'm like, well, you're kind of in the spy wheelhouse there. Oh. All right. But, you know, James Bond's one of my all-time favorite heroes. Which leads us to our next movie, Jet Li's Hero.
When a ruthless army massacred his people, he swore revenge. Now he must face 3 of the kingdom's most deadly assassins and take on the most powerful army ever assembled to make the wrong things right. Quentin Tarantino presents Jet Li. Hero, rated PG-13, in theaters everywhere. Friday, August 27th.
Which is a 2002 import. Directed by Yimou Zhang, written by Yimou Zhang, Fang Li, and Bin Wang. Starring Jet Li, Tony Leung, Maggie Chung, Shai Zhang, Daemong Cheng, and Donnie Yen, a defense officer, nameless, like that's the name, his name's nameless, was summoned by the king of Qin regarding his success of terminating 3 warriors. Scott.
Yes. Fascism is awesome. No, I mean, jokes aside, I mean, this movie rocks. It is gorgeous. It is succinct, weirdly enough. It's basically a who's who of almost every Asian action star that, you know, we lazy Americans might have heard of over the years. And it is a compelling and interesting Rashomon style story in a skewed way. And in a sense that it actually keeps offering plot twists right up to the end in a way that you might not expect from something that just wants to be a fantastical wuxia melodrama. Everybody's on their A game. This may be one of the best of this kind of movie released during that era, although I'm quite fond of House of Flying Daggers as well.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry?
House of Flying Daggers is amazing.
Yeah.
But coin toss for me, to be honest. I like Crouching Tiger and Dragon too. It just, I think these are better, partially because, you know, they're not trying to appeal to American audiences in a way that makes actual Chinese audience go, this is dumb. We get better versions like this every week. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, it's I saw this on opening weekend in a theater. Thank you, Quentin Tarantino. And weirdly enough, it was like one of the loudest movies I had ever seen in a theater. Not because of the movie itself, but just for whatever reason, the volume just cranked up to 20, to the point where it actually hurt my ears when they were fighting. So yeah, I mean, it's, and this is the first time I've seen it since theaters, and it holds up. I like, and I'm going to hell because I did not bring up his name ahead of time, so I can't tell you who directed it because I did not have the thing.
Thank you,
Yimou Zhang.
Thank you. I like The Great Wall. I like Red River. What was the movie he made last year? Red River.
Last year?
Yeah, he had the.
I know he has a few. He's very prolific. I'm just trying to think of which one was last year.
Hold on, I'm going to think about this. You can cut this part out if you want.
Bull River Red.
Bull River Red, which is another kind of more genre-ish film than it. You know, it's. I'm not going to say it's a comedy, but it's more of a dark, macabre political thriller with a lot of action. And I think it was the biggest grossing movie in China last year with like $700 million.
Yeah, it was huge. And I had one day to see it and I missed it and I felt bad.
It's solid. And yeah, and this is sort of almost his prototypical picture. Jesus, he made all the ones that I've heard of. I didn't realize that. Like, Curse the Golden Flower. I saw that in the theater too. But anyway, this is one of Jet Li's best pictures. Even though he would keep making, big spectacular epics in and around China for the next decade, give or take. And then occasionally he'd do like the Hidden Kingdom for money, and that's not the Forbidden Kingdom, whatever it's called. That's not a criticism. I like money too, but
And he's an expendable.
oh Jesus Christ! I completely forgot that is sad. But no, I mean this to me is the movie I think of when I think of this era of wuxia fantasy pictures. In terms of its politics as well. Jokes aside, it's very much a film that endorses a very state-friendly, way of thinking. So yes, you could say it's propaganda, which, whatever, who cares? That's the nice thing about being an American watching overseas action films. If they're problematic in a way that would, we'd have to pretend to care about if they were American. I don't, because I don't live in China. Or, oh no, RRR is really a little kind of conservative. I don't care. I don't live in India. Not my problem.
Not my problem, Scott Mendelson.
Absolutely, you can quote me on that.
The weird thing I think on, but all right.
Sorry, what was that?
Nothing, doesn't matter.
But no, this is a spectacular, nuanced, thoughtful, emotionally compelling, ridiculously colorful in ways, obviously the film is very color coded because it tells several different, here's what really happened kind of stories. And it's just by default, it's one of the best films of the summer. Although, I mean, to the extent that it counts as, because it was 2002, it only came out this year, whatever. But yeah, I loved it 20 years ago, and I still think it kicks ass.
All right, Aaron.
Well, I was worried Scott would get too caught up in the politics of it all because it's certainly an aspect of the film, but I don't think I can hold it against it when it's doing a certain thing and it's arguing in a certain way where it makes it, especially with the proper translations, I can recognize what it's aiming for. But regardless of all of that, and moving beyond the slander that Scott wants to put on Crouching Tiger, which is fucking 2000's masterpiece.
Yeah, I don't. Where did that?
It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. It is
yeah,
a great GREAT movie.
We're having a real difficult time with adjectives this week when it comes to mediocre to describe certain things and good movie to describe Crouching Tiger. Regardless of all of this,
I mean, it's no Superbabies.
Regardless of all of this, Hero is a fantastic film. It is one of the most beautiful movies I think ever filmed, especially at least in color. This was my introduction to Zhang Yimou, and I know it's his first wuxia film. Like, it's basically different from anything he's been doing up until that point, but whether it's Raise the Red Lantern or Shanghai Triad, he has certainly like gangster pictures before this, but like in terms of just like all-out fantasy wuxia stuff, like this is new for him, and like fucking guy fucking crushed it right away in this movie because it's amazing. Between this and House of Flying Daggers, which I think is one of the most thrilling movies I've ever seen in a theater, he just really capitalized on what was essentially a craze because of just how popular Crouching Tiger was, and the fact that he had that and Quentin in his corner to like help get this movie over here. Oh my God, like it's a real benefit the fact that audiences got to see this and chose to see it. I mean, you'll talk about it, Scott, but I mean, this movie, it's not obscure. It was a hit, and for good reason. It's fantastic, and it feels like, part of the simplicity, but like an Avengers of Hong Kong and Chinese action actors coming together for a film. Yeah, I mean, besides Jet Li, who I think is a decent actor, but obviously a very great martial artist, you have, not just people that are like good at the moves, but Maggie Cho, Tony Young, Donnie Yen, Sang Ji, like, this is an incredible cast, and that's not to mention like the other actors I just can't name off of hand, but the ones playing like the Emperor and what have. There's so many stars in this thing. It's like, and it's not surprisingly, at least at the time, not sure if it's changed, but China's most expensive film ever made. It's like, yeah, that tracks. Like, look at all of this stuff on display. I remember seeing the trailer for this earlier in the summer, and it had a shot where it's them doing, they're gliding on the water, and you see it from under the water, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is like, we're doing this. And there was the gall of one guy in the theater, like near me enough where I can always remember this. He was like, another one. I'm like, what, have you been spoiled on wuxia films, guys?
The one?
Yeah.
Jeez, like,
This
calm
is the
down over
second?
there. Calm down over there, guy seeing anacondas later. Like, this movie, no, I mean, I was already big on Kurosawa. I've been knowing at this point for a little bit, in my age at this point. So like I'd seen and loved Rashomon. So I'm like, there's Wushamon here now. Like, this is fantastic.
That's great.
Like, the story it's telling. Like, I was so compelled just by the idea of Jet Li being nameless, being this guy who's coming to an emperor's palace and he has to approach step by step to get. It's like, this is cool. Like, whatever the lore of the whatever reality we're based in, just the idea of like, this is your basic setup, and then the fact that it gets turned on its head over and over again. Like, what a story to tell. Like, it's so like interesting to watch the way, and that's why having such great actors helps, because you have like these same performers playing different angles on their characters that rewrite how you understand what they're after. And outside of the melodrama of it all, when they're dealing with love stories or betrayals or what have you, it's also a fucking kick-ass action movie. I mean, there's so many cool fight scenes in this that are the epitome of amazing blocking and camera staging and just general know-how when it comes to looking at a scene and not just being like, I recognize what character's doing what to whom, but how to make that continually interesting. And then combining that with like special effects of the time, where it's like, yeah, it's one thing to see some slow motion of Donnie Yen using a cool fucking spear dagger thing. It's another thing to see him like move through raindrops and cut things in half, in a film that, something I noticed this time watching it. I've noticed it before, but we were talking about it now. It's a fight heavy film that has almost no violence in it, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's people that get stabbed, but like there's pretty much no like violence. There's no blood. There's nothing that like, beyond just seeing people get hit, by like a foot or whatever. Even like the scenes of all the arrows coming down to people get hit by the arrows. This film's PG-13, and that tracks. Like, it's not a film that like has content in it. It just wants to show you beautifully choreographed scenes that feel much like a musical, like a dance number. Like, that's how elegant the staging of this stuff is, and it's so cool to watch.
You're talking about the violence, and there's the one scene where she kills two people, but it's like stealth done and not part of a fight scene.
Exactly. It's so much play for the fact, given that it's such a accomplished action picture, it does such a great job of highlighting the emotion of those scenes, which is reflected obviously in the colors, for various reasons, whether it's thematically or whatnot, but in what these performers are doing. But what's on Tony Leung's face as he's seeing certain things happen to Sky and the other, broken sword, or he's broken sword. It nails you with all that stuff, and it does it within a compact period of time. This movie, again, it's only like 90-ish minutes. Like, it does everything it needs to and gets out pretty quickly. It's so impressive to see how like densely packed this movie is without ever feeling convoluted, unlike the last boring as fuck movie we just talked about. Like, this movie gets the job done. I was so happy seeing this in a theater. I was so excited to see it, and like the fact that it delivered in every front possible. I mean, it's a real wonder of a film. I'm a big fan of Hero.
Yeah. I'm not gonna be crazy saying this. This is the hands down the best last week of summer movie we've ever talked about.
Yeah, there you go.
And this movie, I remember the push. Like, this had three things going for it in terms of its release and its success. It had Crouching Tiger exploitation going for it. It had Jet Li, who was coming up. He was already Romeo Must Die had happened already, right?
That's like, that's like 99 or so. He's
around.
He's about as president as gonna be.
Yeah, he's in his like hitting the peak before his United States career. He's still bankable here, and Tarantino's name being slapped all over this Tarantino Presents
after Kill Bill 1 and 2 have come out at this point.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So it's a big and it works. It helps that the film's fucking awesome, like we have mentioned, and like I love the let's do Rashomon. Why the fuck not? Star Wars people will love when they do Rashomon too, right? It'll be universally beloved. Because we don't know the source stuff of our fucking sacred franchise. So this movie, like, this is like we mentioned, this is a fucking all-star cast. Like, it's insane. Everybody in this movie, and they're all delivering. This is, I think, one of Lee's best performances that I've seen from him. And the staging of everything is like just top tier. And the color usage is awesome, gorgeous, and in some areas like feels fresh and unexpected. Like there's that scene with the green banners. I don't know why, but it just something feels unique, original, and like to this movie about how that works. I don't know. It's wild, but I feel like green's not a color they usually choose for something like that. And that's I really love that sequence with that one. And you're Aaron, you're talking about something about the base of this story, not the Rashomon stuff, but the fact that there's this king and he's keeping a separation and he gets to go a little further. There's something like urban legend, myth, tale, classic to that just is like instantly hooks you. And even with the payoff of what did he say, and it being like a big, phrase, it's like a whole shit type thing. Just something super classic about this. And there's like while there's a lot of there's a complex way of delivering the narrative. It's a pretty simple story if you look to it that works for it, but it's the actors that bring the complexity kind of in their performances. And just watching this thing in action, and these movies, like, House of Flying Daggers is bad. So if you're going to take a recommend from this, folks, and you haven't seen that movie, go immediately and check that out, because that one is awesome as well. And I just like these movies. Like, I feel like these wushu movies, I don't feel I ever had enough of them. And I watch one and I'm like, I need to watch like 6 more of these right now. Like, just there's something cool about these that are in their own.
I watched Iron Monkey after I watched Hero.
Yeah,
it's like, I need another. I put that
on.
Yeah,
there's just something, that's of their own to it, and then nobody. It's a genre of itself that like hasn't like gotten knocked off in other genres in the obvious ways you would think. There's some slow motion things that other filmmakers take from it and stuff, but there's like an authenticity to this that kind of stays within this like subgenre of epic and samurai and
it's like the water
martial arts.
Just like it's unlike anything, right?
Yeah,
not, the way they float or fly, but it's like this expressionist version of the emotion of their fights.
Yeah,
it's just like you can't replicate that, it seems like, like
I think if you make this like all North American, like the audiences cry phony, or something, or like, oh, this is ridiculous. But you have it here with a language you don't understand or speak fluently, and it's from a foreign place to you, then you accept it. It's not your history you're seeing on screen. It's something else, so you can enjoy the fantasy of it. Whereas if it's here, it's like that. Like, why are they doing that? That's not real.
You just don't get, like, the closest you get obviously is like The Matrix, but even then there's like a sci-fi justification for why it's happening.
Exactly.
This doesn't attempt to bullshit you. It's just like, this is
slight
how it is.
It's an interpretation and fun spin on historical fiction or something, like, like it's
essentially,
like I don't know. It's okay to like be ungrounded where it works, but there's just so much good stuff here. Like I could just sit and slobber over this movie. I could have hit like replay right after it finished, and like you said, it moves. It's just like it's done by the time you get through it. But this is one of the best like Jet Li movies.
He's got a good little run here, because like Fearless is the Unleashed is the year
Unleashed.
After, or Denny the dog, and then Fearless is a little. I think it's a year after that, right? And that was supposedly his last like wuxia film at the time. That was
Yeah, then he does a couple. God, I'm trying to remember. Is Fearless? Sorry, keep talking. I'm gonna look something up.
Fearless is like his last like Chinese like ain't like historical epic film. He still does he still does Forbidden Kingdom, which is a junky U.S. movie that sucks. And he still acts, and I wouldn't throw Mulan in that because he doesn't like do the moves anymore at that point, nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Warlords. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah,
the Warlords. Okay,
that one is when people always ask what's the most the highest body count of any action film, I always chime in very starkly the Warlords, because there's a scene in that where he orders the execution by arrow of 4,000 POWs. So that's the most violent action movie ever made.
They had it coming.
Yeah, this is true. And he feels very bad about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you guys? I mean, is there a specific action sequence you like the best, or hard to choose the children?
It's hard to choose to a point. I mean, that first one with Donnie Yen is because it's cool to watch Donnie Yen do.
Yeah,
stuff
that's where I was.
When you give him a weapon, it's it's a cool fight. It has layers to it. I do like the Tony Young and their fight on the water, where it's a fight that's it's because the way they describe the setups for these things, where that fight is more of a I'm annoyed and I'm gonna fight you, but I don't have the passion for it, but we're gonna do this thing. There's something about that that's just fun. Anytime Zhang Ziyi's on wires is always amazing.
Oh yeah, she should have I don't know what she in her home country where she followed, but I always feel like she had mega star potential. Could have taken off, but I don't know.
She's comfortable.
Yeah,
I know what you're saying, but she's had a good career for herself.
Yes, she has.
Got
herself in that Cloverfield franchise.
I mean, and she got paid twice for Godzilla King of the Monsters.
That's right. True. Okay. So yeah, we'll move on to our last Ryan Seacrest weekly top 40.
American Top 40 with Ryan Seacrest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. American Top 40.
Dropping 2 spots. Number 10 is Move Your Body, Nina Sky versus featuring Jabba. Debuting
versus tracks.
We
need more versus sing-song tracks.
Yes. Jumping into the top 10 in our last week at number 9, Pieces of Me by Ashley Simpson. Pieces of me.
Which one didn't she sing on SNL?
This one.
Okay.
Well, she sang it once, and when they went to do it,
yeah. I watched that episode live when it happened.
Oh yeah, I did too. I was like, the hell?
This is wrong.
It was a huge thing.
Fun fact: not only did I watch the episode, I watched that we had just gotten back from a concert from it was Mars Volta and Iggy and the Stooges, and we just got home from a concert and watched the music performance that went horribly awry for one person and messed up their entire career.
And then you remember when she sang at a halftime show and then booed her? Oh my gosh.
It's okay because she's become such an upstanding person ever since then.
There we go. Number 8, Confessions Part 2 by Usher. There was not a week that went by we didn't mention Usher. Number 7, My Place, Nelly featuring Jaheim. Number 6, Dip It Low from Christina Milian. Number 5, Turn Me On, Kevin Little featuring Spragabens. Number 4, Slow Motion, Juvenile featuring Soulja Slim. 3, Goodies, Sierra featuring Petey Pablo. Number 2, Sunshine, Low Flip featuring Leah. And for the second week in a row, Lean Back by the Terror Squad. I feel like this summer I have said featuring more than any other summer ever. With me, that's just where music is. Everybody likes to share. They're like a guest.
A lot of people got paid in the summer of 2004.
Yeah, a lot of people. I always joke that during the 2000s, R. Kelly and Ludacris just hung around recording studio lobbies waiting to guest on something. R. Kelly and the rappers. Like you need someone to sing the chorus, and then Ludacris be like, you need that rap verse on your R&B album. There you go. Well, R. Kelly was not, when he had someone else watching the cages at his home. So he did. All right. So, yeah, speaking of deadly predators, Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid is our next movie.
We're looking for the blood orchid. It holds the key to the fountain of youth, and it will make us rich.
Stop it. If you don't stop it. Ben?
I'm not going in that jungle. Anacondas, rated PG-13. In theaters everywhere, August 27.
Directed by Halloween 4's Dwight
right.
H. Little.
Huh?
Written by John Claflin, Daniel Zellman, Michael Miner, and Edward Neumeier, on a story by Hans Bauer, Jim Cash, Jack Epps, who wrote the 1997 screenplay of Anaconda. It's a lot of people for this sequel. It was important. Starring Johnny Messner, Katie Strickland, Matthew Marsden, Nicholas Gonzalez, Eugene Bird, Carl Yoon, Sally Richardson Whitfield, and Morris Chestnut. He's back. He's breaking all the rules.
Start of the summer, he's ending the summer.
That's right. Scientific expedition sets out for Borneo to seek a flower called the blood orchid, which could grant longer life. Meanwhile, they run afoul of snakes and each other. So, like, this one goes the route of taking its sequel and, like, pluralizing it with a subtitle, just like Urban Legend, which the second one was Urban Legends. Final Cut.
I always forget that it's Urban Legends.
Yeah, like
Twisters.
But it doesn't have a subtitle.
It doesn't have a subtitle.
So, yeah, Anaconda.
People didn't want to just see Anacondas. They needed to be like, but what are they doing?
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So there's more than one. Like,
but what else you got?
Yeah.
Well, they're
it's
looking
a
for the
hunt.
blood orchid.
Like, what the fuck is a blood orchid? I have to know. 2 tickets, please.
It's like calling it Aliens. Where did the colonists go? Like this. Like Anacondas. What a word.
We're honest. It's like calling it Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Yeah. Like Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. Like, what's that have to do with the fucking snake? Like, is it kill it? Is that the magic thing that gets rid of?
Anaconda's already a mouthful. And then you're like, Hunt for the blood orchids. Hold on.
Yeah. Like The Hunt for the Blood Orchids is its own movie.
Yeah.
Like
that's a lot of words. It's a lot of mouth sounds to make to say a title for a movie.
Anaconda 2. Like
to Disney's credit, they made 4 fucking more. But when I was first hearing the Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, that's hold on. let me take a breath before we get to the second part here.
I agree. It's like you're supposed to save your subtitle for the sequel, dude.
And shockingly, they went shorter. But then they saved it for the 5th one. They're like, the dead man tell the hold on. that's
at least the Planet of the Apes are in on the joke, like of the
twice is their shock and trade now.
Yeah, Anacondas.
I'm hoping they go full meta and do the next one, sequel to the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Untitled Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes sequel.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be the like Kingdom, Empire. I don't know.
It's tough because of all the TV movies that came out. They really have to make sure they don't cross over with those. They've used a lot of good words already.
Well, the TV movies were just episodes tied together.
But they still titled them.
They
still have words that are
coming this Thanksgiving from Disney theaters. Moana 2.
Yeah. Similar, not too dissimilar from the Baby Geniuses franchise and Moana franchise. All right. So who started the last one? Was it
Scott did.
Scott did. All right. So Aaron, did you know this was a sequel? Because when they title things like this, they're hoping you don't know it's a sequel. Because the colon is a surefire way to convince somebody that there wasn't nothing previous.
First off, speaking of sequels, Dwight H. Little also directed Free Willy 2.
That's right.
This movie, much like Suspects, it was a big weekend for my mom and I because we saw Anaconda in theater. Couldn't wait when that came out. We're very happy. It delivered. Big fan of Anaconda. I think it's a glorious B movie with big stars, including John Voight and a big snake, and it's fun. This movie, we were excited to see another. I mean, there's more Anaconda. There's more of them. They got at least 2. Like, what could go wrong with this scenario?
Twice as many Anacondas.
But, like, trailer alone, I was already like, yeah, we're not gonna get the same thing out of this. Like, there's no equivalent to Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube, and of course Eric Stoltz. Like, there's I'm not feeling that same energy from Katie Strickland and Matthew Morrison, an actor that disappears faster than me saying his name out loud.
Matthew Marsden. Matthew Morrison's the guy from Glee.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah. Katie Strickland, she goes down to like TV success, right?
He does TV pretty quickly. Chestnut's always been like doing his own thing. And who's the one guy? The deep voice.
Mesner?
Mesner, Johnny Mesner. That's a guy where it's like, I assume you're gonna be in stuff, but like this is the height of where you are.
I remember we did a Magnolia Pictures put out a movie, and we did like the QC on it. That was trailer was on everything. Had Sonny Mabry in it. It was called like One Last Wish. It was about some kid with cancer that did a Make a Wish thing, and I remember the trailer was like starring Sonny Mabry and Johnny Mesner. I'm like, Johnny Mesner, like this guy, what? And I think he was in Running Scared?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's another like, yeah, that's where you are. That's I get that. Like he's like 3 rungs down from Eric Dane. That's what I look at Johnny Mesner. Anyway, Mesner. This movie, I don't hate it. I think it has like value. It's not good by any means. Like I don't sit there and be like, well, if you watch the first Anaconda, might as well watch Anacondas, and then lead up to Anaconda 3. And then
what would you pick, this or Jungle Cruise to watch?
Don't.
That crossed my mind.
Which one you gonna grab for?
We're trying to have a fun show here, Brad. I mean, Anacondas doesn't like start out halfway being like, oh yeah, pretty good, and then like suddenly take a sharp drop in the second half. Like it's all pretty consistent. So by that measure, it's not like Anacondas is setting up something greater than what it ultimately delivers. And that's what this movie is. It's very baseline stuff. It's more without being better is my issue with Anacondas. Like it has a lot of things in it, but it doesn't amount to a whole lot that's interesting. It has more snake stuff. Eventually, it kind of takes a while to actually get to the snake stuff, which was I forgot how long it does. It like holds back.
Like you gotta wonder if the script was even a snake movie at first.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it used to be something they were considering for a Die Hard, but they couldn't convert it to a Die Hard, so it's like, I guess we can convert it to an Anacondas. The classic issue that they run into.
42 minutes before somebody gets eaten by a snake.
There you go. See, like it takes a while. Like in the first one, like but at least it sets it up being like they killed Danny Trejo in the first scene, so the snake means business.
Well, the first one feels like it's like riffing on Creature from the Black Lagoon for a bit.
Yeah, no, it has what's the director? Oh my god. Regardless, they're doing some work there to like they approached it with like an eye for what they're doing. This one, it does feel like schlock horror stuff that happens to have maybe a bit more of a budget to work with than the average, kind of direct-to-video horror thing. The cast is nothing special. When you drop down from Ice Cube to like funky black guy that says things, it's like, okay, I mean, he's not trying, but like they certainly put him in a stock role. None of these characters I'm like wondering like, oh, I hope this person makes it, because it's just a handful of creeps that I don't care about. I assume one of them turns bad. I hadn't seen this movie since theaters, so I was like, I know it's not gonna be. It's too obvious to make Mesner like the ultimate baddie. So clearly, like someone turns bad. But wait, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then it goes the way I expected. The snake stuff is not very impressive visually. Like the first one had at least a mix of practical and CG stuff, and when it used CG, it like it's 96, so 97, so it's sparingly. This movie, it's like, well, we got to use CG, and it never amounts to anything that creates any sense of tension or whatnot. Um, I don't like that they kill off at least one snake pretty early on because it's like, well, what's the threat if you can chop a head off a snake? Like, don't show me that movie. That just ruins any kind of tension because, like, yeah, they're not invincible. Okay, thanks. The Blood Orchid plotline, words I need to say. I mean, this movie goes a long way to like make you try to care about this thing that they're after, and then it's like, fuck it. Like that's kind of what it ends up with. It's like not too distant from like Deep Blue Sea, where like remember from the outset we're trying to cure Alzheimer's, and by the end of it, it's like, is anything left? Like, no one, there's no data, there's nothing. Like we saw, all we've done is lose everything possible. Like, this movie doesn't even like get to the point of being able to get data. It's just like, I guess there are some flowers out there once. All we've done is all I've succeeded with is impeding on some other animal's natural habitat, probably ruining it for life, and like losing a couple assholes in the process. There's not much redeeming here. Like it's okay in like a schlocky B movie sort of way, but as Scott will, I'm sure, point out, if you have the choice between Anaconda or Anacondas, you choose Anaconda. It's a better movie.
One is enough.
Yeah.
Scott?
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole point of this movie is basically, what if we remade the first Anaconda, but inferior in essentially every way, and less distinctive, and less entertaining, and less cinematically engrossing. And obviously the cast, all due respect to Morris Chestnut, exception to the rule, the cast is irrelevant. While the first film had, some of them were before they were famous, some of them were already famous, but you have Ice Cube, Jennifer Lopez, who already have this weird reputation of being like the best part of otherwise bad movies. But this and Selena was like, what if she was in movies that were good as well? What a novel idea. Yeah.
Ebert would refuse to give her a thumbs down on anything. So.
Yeah. I mean, we all saw Jack. He's like, who is this? The rest of the movie's terrible, but or Money Train, that was the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And that film was unique in its day. I would argue that Anaconda and Rush Hour basically invented the R13. And by that, I mean, it basically took a movie that by all rights should have been R-rated and did the work trimming and or constructing it so it could slip by with a PG-13. That's not a criticism. Anaconda is very much a PG-13 movie. But I remember when it came out, it was very weird that a movie like this, a big monster movie coming several years after Jurassic Park, was PG-13.
I want to thank you for recognizing Anaconda as a PG-13 movie, because of all the gripes I've hold against films, Zombieland likes to proudly state that Anaconda is rated R, and that's the first R-rated movie that Emma Stone saw. And I am sitting there in the theater going, Emma Stone, you are wrong. Anaconda is not rated R. This movie has not done its research. No passing go for me.
I remember that was a in good that was a jotching controversy back in the day.
Big sticking point for me.
Yeah. I think they said, well, it's the character that just doesn't know better because, they've just lived through an apocalypse and maybe they don't remember stuff like that. It's like, fine, whatever, I'll let that go. And that was one reason why it opened as well as it did. And it was a big hit. It did 135 million on a 45 budget back when you could justify spending 45 million on a killer snake movie. This one is indifferent. That's honestly my thought. It's like it exists. Whether or not it was intended as an Anaconda sequel, I don't know. Frankly, I don't care. The characters are boring.
It's a giant snake movie. I don't think they're like, I guess we could tie it into Anaconda. It's Sonny releasing another giant snake movie. They even have the line, "There's snakes out here this big." They throw that in there.
Yeah. It's boring. The plot. You're right. It did remind me of Deep Blue Sea and the we're trying to cure Alzheimer's, but it has none of that. This is for the greater good, ergo moral shades of gray. And yes, it did remind me of Jungle Cruise. The whole idea, let's go to the jungle and find a thing that cures all diseases everywhere.
Anaconda, they at least they do the objective. They find the tribe they're looking for and take the pictures for their article and all that stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because Anaconda, even in 1997, it stuck out to me. It's like, well, this is interesting. You have a big budget, major studio movie that not only does it star Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube, but Eric Stoltz spends most of the movie in a coma, and Owen Wilson basically gets very indifferently murdered halfway through the picture. And again,
plus
this was
Kari Wurr.
What was that?
I said plus Kari Wurr.
So again, it's a sequel to a movie that stood out by having a comparatively inclusive cast, and yet this film is just the white people are all the leads, and the black people are just forgive me, jive talking supporting characters.
Isn't one of the black women like one of the more prominent leads in the movie though?
I would argue she's a supporting character, especially compared to something like Alien versus Predator, which was just a month ago.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but I mean, the ensemble, similar to like Anaconda is an ensemble for the most part, but you can still say like Jennifer Lopez and Ice Cube are very much like in front.
Yeah. I guess she just lasts longer than I expected when you see how this movie plays. Yeah,
that's fair. And let's not forget John Voight plays a person of color also in Anaconda.
Oh, right. That's the other thing is you have John Voight giving one of the all-time great, like Chris Klein in Street Fighter, Tom Hardy in Venom, just whacked out bonkers bananas, trying to win an Oscar and a Razzie for the same performance terms.
It rules in that movie.
So it's like in the even if you don't like the snake shit, even if you don't care much for the other characters, you have John Voight who's providing A+ entertainment outside of the monster shit, which is incredibly useful for a movie like that, by the way. And this film obviously has none of that. So it's what if Anaconda was boring, is basically how I would sum this up.
No, yeah, absolutely. Because you trade in John Voight for Johnny Mesner, and it's like stale. It's just vanilla. Like there was an edge to John Voight in that movie that he could not bring to Superbabies this week. So this movie, like, I feel like this is maybe the last time trash like this hits the theater. Like later, this is Sci-Fi's bread and butter that Lionsgate later puts out on DVD, starring Dee Dee Pfeiffer, Scott Patterson, and Coolio. Like that's what this ends up becoming. This kind of movie. Like I understand there will be movies that come, but they're a bit more high class than this bullshit.
Creature feature wise, you're right. I mean, there's not. I can't even things I'm thinking of are like just better that like Rogue or what like Alligator, like they're at least those are good movies.
Like
so it helps. Like,
you show someone this now, they might forget that it played in theaters. They might not think it was a theatrical release. It's because it's kind of got a trash to it. Like
I
you said,
for Anacondas, so like that helps that went direct to videos.
Right? Yeah.
I felt the same way about Suspect Zero, actually.
Yeah,
where it felt like sort of the last of. I mean, and again, I'm sure there were other serial killer movies that played in theaters, but this sort of felt like the kind of film that even a few years later would have been direct to DVD, etc.
Or you wouldn't have thought got the wide release it did.
Yeah.
If you said right now, there's a new movie out on DVD this week that stars Aaron Eckhart, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Ben Kingsley. Like, yeah, obviously that went right to video. Like,
right.
It's like that's what happens.
Yeah. So this thing, it is like, it's like solid background movie type thing at best. Like is what it is. Like it has some good goods to deliver. It like hits its marks and spots. I feel like the problem with this movie is
camera was in focus.
Yeah,
like they shot things.
The attractive people were attractive. It's trying to like for some reason be above just a snake movie by over plotting the MacGuffin B plot that is inconsequential and focusing way too much on that, which gets convoluted and like I don't give a shit. Oddly, the Blood Orchid shit does tie into the Anacondas, but like there's just too much leading up to it and too much character stuff with that, with just flat, boring performances. Like no one's like Morris Chestnut's solid in this movie. Luckily, he gets out like solid. I can't say Mesner's bad. He's just not interesting. Like you need somebody filling it, some sort of like wild card performer in this. Like, and there's none. And I think it's because you have a group of people where everybody's like unsure of their careers, maybe at this point, aside from Chestnut. Like, because it's a lot of people you see in a lot of movies or know from a lot of stuff. So they're all kind of playing it safe performance wise where they can. Although Katie Strickland, I can't imagine that's her accent.
Nope.
And it's not so bad that it's ridiculous and it's not good. And it's just kind of like, well, you're trying something there, aren't you? Yeah, there's no relative interesting action sequences or really kills or anything to this. And it's if you're paying attention to it, you're like, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? But this is perfectly suited to be less expensive and probably more enjoyable in that regard if it was on Sci-Fi Channel. Like if this had less talent involved. Like this is probably a better movie. I know, like oddly enough, it'll hit those like trash TV movie vibes that you're like, you know what? Yeah, that was fine. Whereas this is this like movie where it's like just so vanilla, so pedestrian, and it just won't take chances. It feels like when your snake movie feels like it doesn't want to be the giant snake movie, I'm like, it doesn't feel like it has any inspiration to it. This guy made one of my favorite Halloween movies, and he's just doing nothing here. Granted, I can't say like, oh, the directorial efforts of Halloween 4 were the best part. It just I think it lucks out with just everybody coming together to make something good in that case.
I mean, that's not nothing on his part.
No,
I mean,
no, and he's a prolific TV director as well. But
you're not like the kills factor. You're not. That's an interesting point there because it's like, how do you not at least do better? Like anything interesting? Like I can't specifically think of any like kills that stuck out to me beyond.
You need to go in it. If you're directing Anacondas, the Hunt for the Blood Orchid, not to confuse, you need to go back to Anaconda and be like, okay, how do we up the kill stuff from the last one best we can?
The movie has cool things. Owen Wilson's underwater in a snake belly.
Yeah.
Guy jumps off a waterfall, gets caught by a snake. John Voight winks after getting crushed by a snake. There's cool shit.
Kari Word doesn't even get killed by the snake. Her corpse gets abused by it, but Voight kills her. But like
it has ideas in that movie, and this one's like, what if we just did less?
No, this one instead of going like, okay, we're the sequel. How do we make one more kills and cooler kills? They went, okay, how do we make the plot better? It's like, no, the first one recognizes fully what it is. It gives everybody a simple objective. It has a secret villain. And this one has too obvious a villainy and just too much of this bullshit. And like, there's nobody to latch onto. And I'm not saying I need a sympathetic character. I need somebody wisecracking somewhere, somebody being a ridiculous performer. Like I need something to grab my attention, latch onto, and there's nothing here with that. It's just flat out, here's a snake movie, but if you want to catch back up with us at the 42-minute mark, we'll start getting to it.
Pretty much.
And it's weird because this movie starts off at the fucking boat. Like, it gets into it real fast. Like, the boat, like, Anaconda's boat trip to the Blood Orchid, maybe. I don't know.
I think it overestimates how much we care about everything else.
Yeah, no, it literally thinks we're gonna, like, we care about everything else if you're bringing back Jennifer Lopez, if you're bringing back Ice Cube, if someone's coming back, then we might care about a character story, but we're back to square one. It is Agatha Christie, and then there were none, but a snake's killing everybody, and maybe one of the other characters, but like that's what we need. But they're like, hey, this science thing, and they've got a real thing they're going after here. No. Simple shit. The blood orchid thing could happen, but they overcomplicate how interesting this thing is. Like, I don't know. It's but it's not awful to watch, but it's not good to watch. It's it's in this weird middle ground of, like I'm not 3-starring it or anything. I'm just like, well, I mean, it was competent in areas, and like it's just really.
Now the third one has Hasselhoff as the lead, right? That's and I assume
third and fourth one. He does 2 of them, I think.
He's in both. So okay, there goes my expectation that he's like the villain in the third one. Then he's in the fourth one, and then there's obviously Anaconda versus Lake Placid.
Well, and then you got this poster that's like there's nobody on the cover. It's just like a skull on like snake scales, like
Dude, Anaconda similar. I mean, just had like snake face.
Oh wait, I forgot they did do Lake Placid versus Anaconda. I forgot about that.
Times, yes.
Yeah. And there's an Anaconda from 2024. Yeah, it's a remake, a reimagining of the 1997 action horror film. I think it's from China.
Yeah,
I'll allow it.
We gotta be better than this, right?
I read it, but I saw a thing on the Chinese Anaconda.
There was like an Anaconda 4, right? Trail of Blood.
Yeah, there's a 4, and then
okay, maybe I don't think Hasselhoff wasn't. It was. Oh yeah, okay. He's not in this. He's only in 3. So Crystal Allen takes the lead in Anaconda 4 it has John Rhys Davies.
Okay, so I mean, I'm right then. Hasselhoff does turn like villain in 3. Then I assume he's the John Voight.
He'd be the guy on Anaconda 3 Offspring. Like I feel like the next type of movie like this that would get theatrical release would be Snakes on a Plane. Oh, Crystal Allen's in the third one too.
For that, yes, and then Piranha.
Yeah. So, and this coming 7 years later feels like we shouldn't have done this.
Well, technically, Lake Placid's after Anaconda, so never mind. Lake Placid's the next one.
Okay, but Scott, should they have done this? Should we go box office? As we take a look at the box office, I think they should have.
Well, number one was Hero, which opened with $17.8 million in its opening weekend.
Trying to pull a trick here on people, but Scott ruined it early in the episode.
Explain?
When you were mad that I went to Hero before Anaconda.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, does anyone not? Anyway.
Some might. No.
If you're nerdy enough to listen to this show, you're probably nerdy enough to know that Hero opened with $17.8 million in late August of 2004, leading out to approximately $59 million domestic, $54 million domestic, become one of the biggest grossing non-English language movies of all time.
Correct.
In unadjusted domestic grosses.
And it still is, right? It's still in that.
I think it still holds that, yeah.
Still like
it's behind, and I'm going off memory, so forgive me. Passion of the Christ, if that counts. Archer, Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Godzilla Zero minus one. Life is Beautiful might be just under Godzilla, and then Hero.
Yeah.
And then Parasite just below it.
Parasite's right, yeah.
And then stuff like Instructions Not Included, Pan's Labyrinth, etc., etc. Boy in the Heron.
Hero makes money, then keeps it's like number one twice in a row. Like
it's number one over Labor Day weekend as well. Number two, by the way, worldwide it would earn $177 million on a 31 budget. So yeah, huge hit. Not bad for a remake of a Dustin Hoffman, Gina Davis movie that bombed in 1992
with Andy Garcia.
Yes, Andy Garcia.
I had to watch that in film class.
And Hoffman on the poster being like,
oh yeah, with the American flag. Yeah, it was a classic video store poster.
Yeah. But getting to your question, yeah, you're right. It was shit only in 2,000 theaters. Go Hero. Because Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid, part 2 of 4, would earn $12.8 million in 2,900 screens for half the per screen average. But that's not bad. The film would leg out to 32 million domestic and earn 75 worldwide on a $25 million budget. So I'm kind of surprised the third one went to VOD, but whatever. Or sci-fi, whatever the fuck they called VOD back in 2000.
The writing was on the wall.
Well, they would run it on Sci-Fi, and then Lionsgate would typically put that stuff out not too far after.
Sure, they're pretty big rentals and like purchases or whatnot.
Yeah.
Number 3 was Without a Paddle.
Look at that.
8.5. Yeah, sticking around. $8.5 million in weekend 2, minus 37% for a $27.7 million total.
People like to laugh.
They do. Even when there are no laughs to be found. It would leg out to $58 million and 73 worldwide on a 19 budget. Again, little movies made money back then.
They had to keep each other warm, dude. It was funny. They played R. Kelly.
Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement in its third weekend would earn $8 million, dropping 38%. It would have $75 million at the end of day 17 or day 19. And did that come out on a Wednesday? It did. Day 19. 90. It would leg out to 95 domestic, 135 worldwide on a 40 budget, which big hit.
Anne Hathaway.
I like that. I might have to steal that.
I stole it, so.
Oh, God. Actress at the Beginning did not have legs. It dropped a goddamn 61% in its second weekend, earning $7 million for a $31 million 10-day total. It would leg out to 42 million domestic, 36 million overseas, 78 million worldwide, which would have been profitable if they hadn't fucking shot the movie twice.
I like to think that there's a Warner executive that's like, I made the right decision and I stand by it.
And they never made another Exorcist movie again, and no one would ever pay $400 million.
I mean, you're right. Warner Brothers never make another Exorcist movie again.
I mean, sure, TV was the way to go, right?
First season was pretty good.
It was.
Collateral, weekend 6, sticking around. Sixth place, 6.5 million, minus 36%, 80 million in 24 days. It would leg out to 101 domestic, 220 worldwide on a 65 budget. And let's see. These are all holdovers till we get to number 10. Do we still care?
Yeah, keep
Open Water.
You don't have to
5
go into depth on them, but you can.
Yeah, that's fine. Speaking of depth, Open Water was number 7 with $5 million, minus 58%, 23.5 after 24 days. Alien versus Predator, 4.9 million, minus 60%, losing 500 screens. 72 million after 17 days. Not a leggy movie, but when it opens that big, who gives a shit? Born Supremacy, 4.6 million, minus 28%. 157.7 million in 36 days. It would leg out to about 172 domestic and approximately 176 domestic, 290 worldwide on a 75 budget. And that would be the last good Bourne movie ever made.
It's fun when Scott tells lies during his box office.
Because the next one would be pretty terrific. So there you go.
Yeah. And bigger.
Yes, bigger.
A reflection of quality.
No, a reflection of this film's quality.
I can't hear Scott anymore. What happened? You put him on mute all of a sudden?
I mean, unless you're
to mute him.
It sounds like he's talking. I can't.
Now I'm sad. I need my chems. Number 10, Suspect Zero.
Oh,
opening with $3.4 million.
Open at 1-0 place.
Yes, in 1,500 screens, a Paramount picture that would earn 8.7 million domestic and 11.4 million worldwide on a $27 million budget.
Folks, if it was good, you could call it a cult classic. Unfortunately.
Speaking of cult classics, Superbabies, Baby Geniuses 2 would open in 11th place with $3.2 million, earning 1,276 screens. It would leg out to a whopping $9.2 million. Excuse me, $9.4 million worldwide, which is a hell of a lot less than the first Baby Geniuses, which made 36 worldwide on a $12 million budget. And I'm assuming did pretty well on, VHS, DVD, and, network television for undiscerning parents.
Enough to make a Superbabies Geniuses too. Yeah. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like the idea of John Voight walking off. It's like, look at all this revenue we're making over here. I have a whole fucking franchise in mind.
I want to imagine he's like Jack Nicholson was with Batman, where he's like interviewing. He's got the pin. He's like, yeah, I'm all in.
The pin being a baby.
Yeah. Or a swastika. It fits the movie, right?
I mean, now he might wear that.
Yeah.
Said it, not me. But that crossed my mind.
Iron crossed your mind?
He's an American. He supports America.
Yeah.
First.
Yes.
As the great Henry Ford would say. Or Lindbergh, one of the two. I don't remember.
Walt Disney. One of those guys.
Speaking of not so super babies, let's see.
So you go down to number like 51, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Fuck.
Brown Bunny.
Whopping, well, to be fair, it opened on 3 theaters for $51,000. It would leg out to $403,000 worldwide. I mean, yeah, a $10 million budget, but I imagine everybody knew, I think everyone went into this with their eyes wide open.
Perhaps, but
yeah,
still a lot of money. I mean,
yeah,
for this movie, that's a lot to spend.
Let me rephrase that. The distributors went into it with their eyes wide open.
Like, if you watch this movie without knowing the budget, you're like, oh yeah, that's that like indie Vincent Gallo made. You probably wouldn't be like, well, that probably cost at least $10 million.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was shocked when I read that.
Was it the travel? Like,
yeah, how many bikes did they crash?
The catering was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That girl on the park bench demands a hefty salary. She had to kiss him, so
they built all the crappy hotels themselves.
None of this volume bullshit for Gallo, no siree.
I read somewhere
they took the Wiseau approach.
I did read that he like furiously painted that motorcycle, like because he wanted this specific color and it wasn't showing up on film, so he painted it like a bunch of different, like tons of coats of paint on that thing.
Correct.
Well, $10 million worth of paint.
And he wasn't getting it from Lowe's.
Yeah, it was that special
Dutch
paint.
boy shit. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the end of the box office.
All right.
And I guess that's the end of this podcast.
If you flip over the tape, that'll do it for this week. But next week, we will be doing our moratorium post-analysis epilogue, where we will be going over our favorites and stuff and talking about kind of assessing the summer as a whole, what we learned, all that stuff. Since this was a 5-movie episode, it was just, we didn't want to like burn ourselves out. If you heard the movies we talked about this week, we didn't want to burn ourselves out on that and then continue to talk for like 3 hours for this. So we're going to do a separate episode where we do our analysis, but we have a bonus movie to talk about, which will surprise you. We won't say what it is, but there will be one more movie from 2004 to discuss in our epilogue episode. So stay tuned for that for next week. But until then, Scott, where can people keep up with you?
Brandon has generously agreed to do next week's episode as a giant clip show, capturing all of the best moments from the summer of 2004.
Well, we're going to be like packing up our 2004 memorabilia into boxes and reminiscing about things that had happened. And then we'll cut to clips.
Because the time that we spent discussing these movies with these people are the most important moments of our lives in retrospect.
Yes.
Thanks, Jack's dad.
So, Scott, where can people keep up with you till then?
I'm at Puck News on a semi-weekly basis, and I run, write, and maintain the Outside Scoop at Substack.
Which
And
has
I'm
a
on all the
podcast,
yes.
which has a podcast, which Scott is back on now. Well,
back on what?
Well, you were gone for a couple weeks, so.
Oh, just one.
Oh, was it just one?
Yeah.
It was the best episode.
Felt like forever.
It was very sad.
There you go.
Let's see. Yeah, that's what, that was the best episode. Now they've forced me to step down and pledge all my delegates to Harris, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and if you're listening to previous episodes, that hadn't happened yet. But now here at the end of August, we assume that's what's going on. Oh, the world.
But
Aaron,
anyway, yes. Go.
Aaron, where can people keep up with you?
Well, I host a podcast as well that I'm on every week. It's called Out Now with Aaron and Abe. We talk about weekly movie releases, my friend Abe and I, and we have plenty of guests on the show and plenty of fun commentaries every month as well. I am the editor-in-chief at We Live Entertainment, where you can find all my movie reviews. You can find my Blu-ray and Criterion reviews over at whysoblu.com. Everything I do winds up at my personal Substack page, dakotazeek.substack.com, and I'm on all the socials at Aaron's PS4.
All right, I'm on social media at Brandon4KUHD, which is also on Letterboxd, which Aaron is going to share a list of his 2004 films on there. So when you follow him, follow me.
Yeah, my list of all the movies we've watched this, I'll make that public now because we finished this episode. So by the time this episode drops, that list is completely available for how I've ranked this summer at the movies.
It will be public. PopCon Louisville, that is coming up this weekend. It's happening. I'll be at the podcast stage hosting that and doing some live shows as well. So PopCon Louisville, which is at popcon.us. You can get some tickets, come see the show, have a good old time. PopCon Louisville. Also, I want to announce behind the scenes here, it's been going on for a bit, but I've been working on doing some second unit / other work for some Doctor Who documentaries for Real-Time Pictures. One of which it's a series right now called Doctor on Display. This one called The Museum of Classic Sci-Fi that is releasing, I believe, now, this week or the previous week, that is coming out, which is a documentary about people who have their own like Doctor Who collections and museums of which, and I was filming stuff at Who North America, which is the largest North American hub of Doctor Who merchandise in the United States. And then the other one, which I believe comes out in February, is called Doctor on Display, the USA Tour, which from 1986 to 1988, which is one I've been having the most fun on because it's this like crazy thing I didn't know happened. And it's kind of like this like crappy little this tour that ran out of money, taking a RV with Doctor Who like display stuff across the country, and they run out of money as they're doing it, and things become less and less cool. And I've just enjoyed hearing, interviewing people, meeting people, and hearing the stories from that. So you can check those on.
Lost in Humantia.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, Real-Time Pictures. You can order the DVDs and stuff from them. But I've been an honor to be a part of that. And thanks to Russell McGee, Elwidas Pagan, and Keith Barnfather for having me be part of that. So that's really cool. But next week, we conclude the summer of 2004 at 20, which, of course, includes our top 10 films and a special movie to talk about. So, yeah, one last bit as the summer of 2004 at 20 continues.
The summer of 2004.